New York City FC with a record of 9-5 in third place in the Eastern Conference versus 2017 expansion squad, Minnesota United. Their record, 5 wins, 9 losses, 3 ties, 9th place in the West. Well, good evening, everybody. Delightful night for soccer at Yankee Stadium in the Bronx, New York. It's Soccer Sisters Night. I'm Glenn Crooks, along with former MLS and U.S. men's national team defender Janusz Mahalik. Janusz, we're back to the beginning of the season. Minnesota loses their first 2 matches at Portland 5-1. They come back for the big home opener against their expansion mates Atlanta, lose 6-1 in a massive snowstorm. And people are talking about this is the worst team in MLS history. Now we're at the midway point of the regular season. They're only 4 points shy of a playoff berth.
Yeah, I think what happened there, what they knew, right? I mean, when they came up from the NASL, a lot of players didn't immediately get a lot of playing time. But if you look at the lineup right now, and you look at Christian Ramirez, what he's doing, which, by the way, we all knew what he was capable of in NASL, and obviously took a step up in a number of players like Miguel Ibarra, of course, as we know, Ibsen's one of them. Coleman, who is injured today as well, is getting a lot of time. So I think they went to the core of the players that understand the team, understand Minnesota, and they've been successful with that. And Glenn, other than that, sometimes you just pay the price, right? I mean, you don't know the opponents, you don't know the teams that you're playing, and then maybe some of the fields where you're traveling and all of that. You got to get used to it, and they've done a pretty good job as of late.
In that Western Conference, Minnesota trails Seattle, the defending MLS Cup champions, by 3, as well as the Vancouver Whitecaps. And then it's the LA Galaxy on 22 points in 6th place and above the red line in the Western Conference. In the Eastern Conference, well, it's Toronto FC on 35 points, Chicago 34, and then New York City FC with 30 points, arguably the top 3 teams in MLS. When we return, we'll take a close look at NYCFC, the team that enters tonight unbeaten in their last 4, including the dominant Derby triumph, and with just 1 loss in their last 16 home matches. You're listening to New York City FC Soccer on WFAN.com. Here's the first time shot, and it's a goal! Jack Harrison!
Jack Harrison and New York City FC welcome Toronto FC to Yankee Stadium for the first time this season in a rematch of last year's first-round MLS playoff matchup on Wednesday, July 19th. Kickoff is at 7:30 p.m.
Ben Sweat! A long set piece from just inside midfield.
Don't miss your chance to support your city and cheer on your boys in blue this season in the Bronx. Tickets are available at nycfc.com, 855-77-NYCFC, or at the Yankee Stadium box office.
Are your tires ready for the road ahead? No? Then get to Town Fair Tire to get name brand tires at the guaranteed lowest price. Bridgestone, Firestone, Michelin, Continental, Pirelli, Yokohama, Hankook, and more, all at the guaranteed lowest price you'll find anywhere. Nobody beats Town Fair Tire. Not the internet, not the discount stores, not other tire dealers. I mean nobody. For the guaranteed lowest price on name brand tires, nobody beats Town Fair Tire. Nobody.
Name brands at discount prices. Town Fair Tire.
Joe Beningo here for Smithtown Nissan to deal with it staying on top by keeping their prices at the bottom. They got great news. The man, the myth, the legend, Greg Fina, wants to blow it out this month. So head over to Smithtown Nissan right now and you can be a big winner. Fina and his team will make every deal that they can right now through the end of this month. So go see Fina first at Smithtown Nissan. And if a new car's not what you're looking for, Smithtown Nissan has a gigantic selection of pre-owned vehicles, the absolute best prices, and of course, the legendary Smithtown Nissan concierge service. It includes valet parking, free snacks, cold drinks, express oil changes. Listen to me, see Fina first. Don't buy anywhere else but Smithtown Nissan. It's surely worth the ride from anywhere. And if you don't want to take my word for it, visit Dealer Rater to see the thousands of reviews from happy customers. Listen to me, see Fina first. Don't buy anywhere else but Smithtown Nissan, Middle Country Road, St. James. SmithtownNissan.com.
In the Bronx at Yankee Stadium, Glenn Crooks, Janusz Mahalik pregame. New York City FC preparing to play the expansion Minnesota United. And there was a lot of scrambling within the last hour in terms of lineup because a pair of players who were, one was going to be in the 11, the other was going to be in the 18 on the bench. R.J. Allen and Ethan White, both fullbacks, and R.J. Allen coming off back-to-back good performances, in particular against the New York Red Bulls in the Hudson River Derby. They were late for a team meeting, a pregame meeting. So what has happened is Patrick Vieira, the head coach, has demoted R.J. Allen to the bench, and Ethan White is not in the 18.
Yeah, and Glenn, it's unfortunate because after such a big win in a derby away from home, you're supposed to be coming into this match on a big high, right? With all kinds of momentum. Last thing on players or managers' mind is that you have to deal with discipline, and rules are rules. I give Patrick Vieira a lot of credit, not only for doing it, but talking to us about it and having no problem in terms of saying it. I know as a player I probably wouldn't enjoy that. However, it's a lesson that obviously they will learn. We don't know every detail why they were, you've mentioned maybe they were carpooling or something. So sure, but the bottom line is you coming into this match after an extremely good performance, and you're absolutely right. R.J. Allen was exceptional. He needed to be after a slow start to the season. So hopefully that will not affect the team too much, although in terms of depth and substitutions, you're looking two players that play at right back. Now you have Ben playing there. What if you have to change things around? You're somewhat limited because of that, right?
The original lineup, and this is interesting, was R.J. Allen at right back, Ben Sweat at left back off of his performances, which have been also exceptional, and Ronald Matarrita at left wing at the 11 in the 4-3-3 with Rodney Wallace on the bench in the 18. Now with the juggling, Wallace is back in the starting lineup, as is Matarrita on the left, and now Ben Sweat has to move to the right, which 2 weeks ago Patrick Vieira says he can't play on the right.
Yes, but in a crazy way, it took a very difficult decision away from Patrick Vieira. I know he wouldn't want it this way, but Ben Sweat's been so good. Matarrita's got to play somewhere. You can't take a Wallace out of the lineup unless he's not here, right? So all of a sudden you're wondering if everybody's healthy, if R.J. Allen and Ethan White don't have a problem here on time. Now you've got to make difficult decisions because they're all very, very good players deserving of being in that starting 11.
Well, Jack Harrison is in the lineup. He's coming off a game-winning goal performance against the New York Red Bulls. He now has 7 goals and 4 assists on the season, and 3 game-winning goals to lead this club. And Eirik Johansson will be in goal in place of Sean Johnson. Johnson away on international duty with the U.S. men's national team and the Gold Cup, so he'll see his first minutes of the season. Well, up next on the pregame, it'll be my one-on-one with head coach Patrick Vieira. You're listening to New York City FC Soccer on WFAN.com.
This is Morgan Freeman, executive producer of the documentary The C Word. And I'm here to tell you that defeating cancer takes breakthroughs. A breakthrough is the start of something extraordinary. You, the patients, taking part in clinical trials. You, the scientists, doing next-level research to beat cancer. You, the doctors who care for everyone. Let's be the breakthrough.
To learn about screenings and clinical trials, go to standuptocancer.org/breakthrough. Please talk to your healthcare provider about appropriate screenings and clinical trials.
You know, moving is never fun, especially during soccer season. But OD Household Services makes it cheaper and easier. OD drops off a trailer that you load yourself. Then OD delivers it to your new address when you want it. You only pay for the space you use. And OD does all of the driving. Schedule your easy and affordable home move now at odmove.com/WFAN. That's odmove.com/WFAN. OD Household Services, official partner of the New York City Football Club radio network.
There's only one St. Mary's healthcare system for children, for kids requiring specialized rehabilitative care.
To learn more, visit stmaryskids.org, where we believe in possible.
Joe Beningo here for Smithtown Nissan to deal with it staying on top by keeping their prices at the bottom. They got great news. The man, the myth, the legend, Greg Fina wants to blow it out this month. So head over to Smithtown Nissan right now and you can be a big winner. Fina and his team will make every deal that they can right now through the end of this month. So go see Fina first at Smithtown Nissan. And if a new car is not what you're looking for, Smithtown Nissan has a gigantic selection of pre-owned vehicles, the absolute best prices, and of course, the legendary Smithtown Nissan Concierge Service. It includes valet parking, free snacks, cold drinks, express oil changes. Listen to me, see Fina first. Don't buy anywhere else but Smithtown Nissan. It's surely worth the ride from anywhere. And if you don't want to take my word for it, visit Dealer Rater to see the thousands of reviews from happy customers. Listen to me, see Fina first. Don't buy anywhere else but Smithtown Nissan, Middle Country Road, St. James. SmithtownNissan.com.
Pre-game, New York City FC against the expansion Minnesota United. With us head coach Patrick Vieira. Patrick, first let's go back a little bit, and what a positive performance against New York Red Bulls on the road, Red Bull Arena, getting your first win ever there for the franchise. Can you just talk about that a little bit, but in terms of maybe a midterm report? We're right at the mid part of the season. So what is it you liked about that game and the team to this point, and where are you still looking to grow?
I think it was, I don't like to use the words perfect, but it was a really good game away from home, because I think as a team we defended quite really well. I think from David, we worked really hard. We put them under pressure. We forced them to play a long ball. I think tactically it was a really good game. And then what I was pleased is that we take our chances. I think we created few situations and we managed to score the 2 goals. And we didn't concede anything, and that was a really, really good performance, a really good team performance.
All right, so the guy who opens up the scoring, gets the game-winning goal, leads you in game-winning goals now, Jack Harrison. And I know you're not particularly fond of statistics, but when Jack Harrison starts, New York City wins 58% of their games. When he's not in the starting 11, they win 28%. Now, you've started him every game this year, so that proves that you're doing things the right way. But no, the essence of Jack Harrison, what are the things that you see in Jack, and obviously his value, not just statistically, but you can see it every game?
I think he's a really important player for us. I think he's growing up. He's growing up as a player. He's growing up as a man. He has a better understanding of the game. I think he's just a better player than he was last year. But I still believe there is a really important side of his game that he needs to improve. Is about his decision making. I think he can be much better than that. But yeah, he's a good player. I think we didn't make a mistake when we went and take him from the draft, because we knew how good he was, and especially the way we want to play the game. We knew that he would be a perfect fit for us. So he's still young, he's still developing, and we are quite really happy with the way that he's improving as a player.
Hey, the other guy that's really been a revelation is Ben Sweat. The guy signed under the radar, was a trialist, and look how he's performed. The guy's got 3 assists. Which is 3rd in the league for fullbacks, got his first career goal last week. He's a guy that really has provided a lot of versatility as well. He's moving from the left to the right tonight on the fullback side.
Yeah, he's all credit to him. I think since he came for the first day, he showed how much he wanted that contract. And he worked really hard, and he's been playing really well since he's with us. He's a really smart guy. He understands tactically what I ask him to do, and then there's no reason why I shouldn't play him. I'm really happy with the way that he's playing at the moment. And yesterday we have Mata back as a left back, and then Ben's going to move on the right hand side. He played already that position long time ago, so it's not going to be a big change for him.
And the other big change, and it's due to the fact that Sean Johnson's getting a chance at the Gold Cup of the U.S. men's national team, is Eirik Johansson in goal. What are your expectations? The one thing there's not a huge evaluation that you can make at this point. He just hasn't had that many games.
Yeah, he didn't. I was really happy with him, how he's been in training. I think he's been working quite really hard, and it was a lack of opportunity for him to play, and he has to take that opportunity, because Sean is going with the national team. There is a space there for him to show how good it is, and it's true that I'm looking forward to the game, because there's going to be a lot of pressure on his shoulder, and it will be good to see how he's going to react.
On the Minnesota side, here's a team that started MLS allowing 11 goals over their first 2 matches, yet at the midway point they're only 4 points out of a playoff spot. Where have they improved? You probably weren't studying them early in the year, but what have you seen on film?
I think it's a completely different team. I think when you are a new franchise like that and you bring in players all around the place, you need time to players to adapt to each other, and they had quite a difficult start of the season, but now they are a team working together. They have some really interesting players, some individual quality who, if you give them space, they can do a lot of damage to the opposition team. So it will be a tough game, and I expect this game to be more difficult than the Red Bulls one.
They haven't won a game on the road yet, though.
The road is the first time, and I hope it's not going to be tonight.
Patrick, thank you so much. Bon chance ce soir.
Merci beaucoup, Glenn.
That's Patrick Vieira. When we return, it's the starting lineups and the kickoff. You're listening to New York City FC Soccer on WFAN.com.
You know, moving is never fun, especially during soccer season. But OD Household Services makes it cheaper and easier. OD drops off a trailer that you load yourself. Then OD delivers it to your new address when you want it. You only pay for the space you use. And OD does all of the driving. Schedule your easy and affordable home move now at odmove.com/WFAN. That's odmove.com/WFAN. OD Household Services, official partner of the New York City Football Club Radio Network.
This is Morgan Freeman, executive producer of the documentary The C Word. And I'm here to tell you that defeating cancer takes breakthroughs. A breakthrough is the start of something extraordinary. You, the patients, taking part in clinical trials. You, the scientists, doing next-level research to beat cancer. You, the doctors who care for everyone. Let's be the breakthrough.
To learn about screenings and clinical trials, go to standuptocancer.org/breakthrough. Please talk to your healthcare provider about appropriate screenings and clinical trials.
Well, it's Glenn Crooks and Janusz Mahalik preparing for New York City FC against Minnesota United. Let's go over the starting lineups first for the road United, the Loons, who are winless away from home at 0-6-2. It'll be Bobby Shuttleworth in goal. Left to right out of the back in this 4-2-3-1 setup. Jerome Thiessen, Francisco Calvo, Jermaine Taylor, and Kevin Venegas. The holding midfielders, Ibsen and Sam Cronin. Left to right in the midfield, Miguel Ibarra, Johan Venegas, Kevin Molino. And up top, it'll be Christian Ramirez. Adrian Heath. In his first year with this expansion side, the former Orlando City coach, overall Minnesota 5-9-3, 18 points, 9th place in the Western Conference. For New York City, it'll be Eirik Johansson in goal, left to right at the back, Ronald Matarrita, Alex Collins, along with Maxime Chenot and Ben Sweat on the right. In the midfield, Alex Ring, Yangel Herrera, Tommy McNamara up top, Rodney Wallace, David Villa, Jack Harrison, head coach Patrick Vieira. 9-5-3, the record for New York City FC, 30 points, 3rd place in the Eastern Conference. And Armando Villarreal is in the middle. He's the referee this evening. The last time he officiated a New York City game at Atlanta. Post-game comments from Patrick Vieira not flattering to Villarreal. And play is underway at Yankee Stadium with Minnesota in their road white with blue trim. They're moving right to left here in the first half. And a ball played back to Shuttleworth, who will send one deep into the New York City end towards the Matarrita side of the field. That's the left. And here's Ben Sweat getting his first touch as a right back. A couple of weeks ago, Patrick Vieira suggested that Sweat would not play on the right. He really, I think the way Patrick termed it, can't play on the right. Well, that's where he is today. We'll get into that in just a moment. Harrison on the ball, looking to play a 1-2 with Villa, who is bottled up by Francisco Calvo, the Costa Rican, who after this game will join his national teammates along with 3 others on the field tonight. Minnesota has it right in the center circle and dispossessed by Matarrita. Matarrita on the run, pushes it wide for Wallace. Matarrita continues his run. Wallace finds Matarrita with a back heel intended for Wallace. It's deflected away, and Cronin was back defending. Last touch by New York City.
Well, Glenn, good pressure from NYCFC. You'd expect that, don't you, against Minnesota? I think it's going to take them some time to adjust here. We take it for granted sometimes, but for a lot of these players, this is the first time they're here in NYCFC. This is the first time they have to deal with this pitch, and it takes some time to adjust, right? So as they're doing that and trying to find their bearings here, where to go, how tight is it really, how much time they have on the ball, this is the time that a home side like NYCFC that's got momentum's got to take advantage of that.
Minnesota United have not won a match on grass in their short history at MLS. Collins finds it on the switch from Ring. Wallace along the far touchline. New York City left to right here in the first half in their one of their home kits. It's dark blue with orange trim. Top of the box, Harrison. Villa now has the ball pop up on him. It's taken away by Molino. He's angling right, then cuts back against the grain, and now is cutting across the middle of the pitch. And with the left foot, he pushes it wide, and that was intended for Ibarra. He could not catch up with it, so Ben Sweat, as it goes into touch, will take the quick throw, finding Chanot behind him, and the choice to build now for New York City. Collins plays one on the deck to Rodney Wallace, who dropped down at an angle and right along with the heels to the touchline. Wallace, though, goes first time back to Collins, who swing it all the way to Ben Sweat. Sweat on the right side. His pass intended for Yangel Herrera, picked off in the midfield. However, Harrison has won it back, and in 2 touches he finds McNamara. McNamara had pressure, so he pivoted and plays a negative ball back to Alexander Collins, who has to chase, but no pressure by Minnesota in the New York City end out of this 4-5-1. Here's Rodney Wallace running at the defender, slips to Villa. Villa in the area, and toe pokes it, and last touch by Villa. It'll be a goal kick.
Yeah, this is where I think this is going to be Villa's game. Remember, last game I sort of felt that Jack Harrison was going to score. He did. Villa didn't, but of course played an important part in the game, as he always does. But I just have a good feeling about him today for maybe couple goals here for me. But look, that midfield 3 against the Red Bull were incredible. If they can kind of replicate the intensity that they had, of course I'm talking about Tommy McNamara, Yangel Herrera, and Alexander Ring, then I don't think there's any worry about that back 4, even with Sweat, and especially with Eirik Johansson. You've mentioned him. He hasn't had much to do. Now he's going to get a touch finally, which you probably appreciate. But I think if you protect them properly, especially in that midfield, I think NYCFC should be okay.
And another ball played back to Eirik Johansson, and now pressure from Ramirez and also Ibarra, and the ball at the feet of Maxime Chanot, right edge of the box. He goes to Johansson, to Collins, and the change is complete to Matarrita, who drives it into the Minnesota end. He's along the left inside channel, finds Wallace wide to his left. Wallace to Herrera in the center of the park. He'll change for Sweat. Sweat receives with the left foot and plays it across his body to Harrison, who is isolated now on the fullback on this side. That's Jerome Thiessen on Harrison. Ball across and a head ball challenge between Kevin Venegas and Rodney Wallace, deflected to the far corner. New York City still has it. Right edge of the box, it's Villa. He faces up now on Ibsen. Villa with the move. Villa still on the ball. Double team. He finds McNamara, who tries one of those curling shots, hits it a little bit too low. It's blocked by the Minnesota defense, and the ball squirts towards Ramirez, but New York City wins it back. Right between the circles on the Minnesota side, it's McNamara to Matarrita. Whips it across, intended for his Costa Rican national mate Rodney Wallace. His shot deflected away. You heard the crowd as Yangel Herrera got a sidewinding volley involved, but that one was deflected. New York City has it back. Matarrita whips in another. And again, it's Herrera attacking the box, and that one, though, is cleared away by Calvo.
Great pressure from NYCFC. Again, the moment they lose the ball, they seem to win it right away in the opponent's half. That was that sequence, the last 2 minutes where Minnesota had problems not only just clearing it, but once they got it, they lost it immediately. So that's good, of course. I don't know if you noticed, Ben Sweat, when you talk about left-footed player playing on the right-hand side. The bonus is that once he comes inside, I think he's going to be able to play those through balls for players to run onto it. That's not as easy with the right foot. On the minus side here, though, I think it's sometimes difficult for him to keep the width that he normally keeps there. So I think if you're on this side, if it's Ibsen or if it's anybody else, I think you want to force him toward that right foot. And I don't know if he's going to be getting involved in the attack as much as he did on the other side.
He's on the right side because R.J. Allen, late for a team meeting, originally in the starting lineup, is now on the bench in the 18, along with Frederic Berlion, Andrea Pirlo, Lopez, Camargo, Acoli, and the backup keeper tonight is Rawls. On the bench for Minnesota, McLean, Davis, Schuler, Warner, Kadri, Martin, and Jom. Kevin Molino has some space now in the New York City end. I thought he was going to split the two center backs. Instead, he goes wide to Ibsen, and the ball poked out along the near touchline by Alexander Collins.
Yeah, I think it was Ibarra showing on the left-hand side. But speaking of Ibsen, though, I tell you what, for me, everything that's good for Minnesota United goes through him. He usually plays centrally, of course, and comes very deep for the ball as well at times. But I've been so impressed. Of course, I've seen him before in NASL, but I've been so impressed ever since Minnesota kind of starting playing a little bit better. He's in the thick of things, always doing a lot of good stuff.
Ronald Matarrita, who has missed 8 games this season with a high ankle sprain. This is his first start for Matarrita since April the 15th at Philadelphia. And it appears Mata is down now, sustained some sort of
he's pulled up with no contact. He's pulled up with no contact on the right-hand side. The ball was on the left-hand side, so really wasn't even anticipating the ball. And I was just watching what exactly happened to him. That's always worrisome a little bit because nobody near him, really, no contact whatsoever, and just pulled up.
And only one fullback on the bench, although it's Mikey Lopez, who is up immediately talking to assistant coach Rob Vertugian, who has the paperwork, obviously showing Lopez some of the tactics, how he would fit in with the set pieces. And I don't think Matarrita is going to be able to go. And if not, then Mikey Lopez comes in, and we'll have to check and see if that would result in a change of shape. And here comes Lopez. And Matarrita being helped off the field, assisted by the trainer. So we'll check that in a moment. It's Jerome Thiessen with a throw-in for Minnesota, deep in the New York City end along the near touchline. Thiessen gets it back off the 1-2 as he found Miguel Ibarra with the throw-in, who was posting up. Chasing down at the end line is Alexander Ring, and he has some room to just whip it out with his left foot all the way to the halfway line where Minnesota has control again. No complacency, Janis, in terms of the big Red Bull win, and that was one of the possible concerns. And here's a rebound and a goal for Minnesota United. And when you wonder if Eirik Johansson was ready to play tonight and what kind of response New York City would have without Sean Johnson in goal, a shot from deep, about 35 yards out, off the short hop, Johansson could not handle, and the follow in the goal by Christian Ramirez. Minnesota United takes the 1-0 lead.
Yeah, that's his 10th of the goal. Really have to put away from the closest of distances, right? A strike from about 20, 25 yards away, and it's one of those that you would have thought that Johansson was going to save that rather easily in this one. Unfortunately, he didn't. I think he went down heavily. Just spills it out, and that ball's being put away. And yes, I think Venegas with that strike from distance on this one. And yes, it's a goalkeeping mistake. There's no questions about that. Right after injury, I was just going to talk about, some of the problems with the lineup early on, right? You're paying the price because it looks like Mikey Lopez just going to play it on the left-hand side. So you have quite a few players playing out of position.
Bring on the ball now to Rodney Wallace, left inside channel, the overlapping Matarrita. Finds Wallace now. Herrera left-footed first-time shot just wide. Missed it on the left post side. And he had the keeper, Bobby Shuttleworth, wrong-footed on that. And a good chance for Herrera right near the top of the box off the feed from Matarrita.
Yeah, absolutely free, about 19 yards out centrally from the penalty area. Could have done better because there's no pressure whatsoever. And then the switch is happening right now, as I thought it made. Ben Sweat going to the left-hand side as a left back to his normal position, and Mikey Lopez as a right back right now. So still not ideal, I suppose, but we've talked about the depth. We've talked about some of the problems ahead of the game in terms of the lineup, and of course that's compounded by the injury to Matarrita.
And you know that Patrick Vieira reluctant to go to R.J. Allen this early in the match. That would be the normal call to bring Allen in, a normal fullback. Yes, but instead it's Mikey Lopez who comes in ahead of Allen, who again, and I don't want to mention it too much more, but Allen and Ethan White were late for a team meeting, which it makes this squad of 18 and then the management of the game a little bit different.
Yeah, I still think he's sending a message. It would have been easy, of course, and people would understand why, but I think the fact that Mikey Lopez comes in at right back and not R.J. Allen, I think Patrick Vieira is committed to make his point.
Lopez has trained at fullback for New York City FC. Play resumes. There was a brief injury delay as Ibsen went down, the Brazilian midfielder. Roddy Wallace, with his pace, manages to chase the ball down into the left corner, and then it's right-footed out by Venegas. That's Kevin Venegas, a pair of Venegas, and they are not related. Johan Venegas, a Costa Rican, along with Calvo, Matarrita, and Wallace, scheduled to depart to be with their team, the Costa Rica national team, for the Gold Cup. And Matarrita's status now highly questionable, coming off the non-contact injury. Matarrita has left the game 8 minutes in. We're 13 minutes in now, and Minnesota United leads 1-0. Ball loose in the Minnesota area, finally cleared away by Venegas in his 6th season with Minnesota United. A veteran NASL player who's getting the minutes now. This is his 3rd consecutive start in MLS. And now a foul suffered by Kevin Molino right about the halfway line, about 5 yards inside his own territory. Ball all the way back to Shuttleworth. Shuttleworth, a dangerous ball, top of the box. Herrera anticipating, picks it off, and now Robbie Wallace has control. He's double teamed. Wallace looking to win the ball back as it was taken away by Ibsen. Ibsen hugging the right sideline. Deep in his own end, and he knocks it off a New York City player for the Loons throw-in.
Yeah, and Shuttleworth asking for problems. Simple ball to Francisco Calvo, but you could see that he almost got his pocket picked. It would have been a one-on-one situation with the goalkeeper there. So 1-0 again against the run of play. I thought that Patrick Vieira wanted a strong start, that's for sure. And I think he kind of got that, right? The pressure was coming from NYCFC, and of course the Loons went the other way. As I've mentioned, Johan Venegas with that strike from distance. It wasn't a particularly difficult one, I suppose, but I think Johansson kind of went down too early, really. When the ball arrived, kind of spilled it out, and Christian Ramirez with his 10th goal of the season just tucking it in from a yard out.
Well, Minnesota, one thing about the Loons is when they garner the lead, they do not give it up. 5 games now. This is the 5th game that they have taken the lead this season. They are 4-0 in the previous matches where they have scored first. Ball back to Johansson, whose error on the shot from distance by Venegas. And we say, you called it 20 or 25. It looked more like 30, 35. Yeah. It was from far out. It took a short hop in front of Johansson, and he spilled it. Yeah, and Christian Ramirez was right there to tuck it home.
That was before I put my glasses on, so you may be right. It was from far out, and really not the sort of power and kind of really direction that would normally worry a goalkeeper.
Venegas on the ball now, reverses between Chenot and Collins, intended for Ibarra, but Chenot managed to get back and deflect it away with his right foot, gain control, and now New York City in possession with Matarrita. Matarrita will pull up. Inside of the left foot pass back to the halfway mark to Alexander Ring, who will swing the ball to Jack Harrison. Harrison driving. Matarrita obviously has departed from the game, and that's Ben Sweat, who's got that Matarrita look apparently. Maybe I've got to get new glasses, Janish.
You can use mine if you like.
Alexander Collins as New York City with perhaps their best possession of the game thus far, just probing and waiting to see if Minnesota will split a bit as they move the ball from side to side. It's Ring now, back from the right to the left where Tommy McNamara gobbles it, accepts it. Cronin pressures him. Now McNamara finds Villa. First time ball wide for Sweat. His first time ball back to Villa, and he can't control the first touch. Ball loose, and Herrera with a left-footed drive, and it's blocked by the Minnesota defense in front of Bobby Shuttleworth, and it bounds all the way out about 50 yards from goal where Mikey Lopez manages to get the touch on it to Harrison, and his service goes high into the air on a deflection and taken by Shuttleworth.
What a great setup, though. Of course, we've seen it from NYCFC on the left-hand side. Tommy McNamara involved, Ben Sweat, absolutely wonderful. Again, very much like against the Red Bulls on the left-hand side, cutting the ball back to Villa, who was involved in the build-up as well. And just maybe a bad touch from David Villa on that one. Kind of first touch handcuffed him a little bit. I think if it was a little bit more in front of him, maybe that would have have been a little bit better. Herrera in the end with a shot that was blocked.
Yeah, that first touch squirted off the right foot of David Villa. Ben Sweat assisted on the Harrison goal against the New York Red Bulls, where he made a really well-timed overlapping run around Rodney Wallace, got to the end line and was patient as Harrison dropped off a few yards to get into the channel, and then a first-time left-footed drive over Luis Robles, and that was the game winner in the 2-0 victory for New York City. Minnesota coming off a somewhat inspiring result against Vancouver. They were down 2-0, a bounding ball in the New York City end taken by Johansson on one hop. Down 2-0, came back to tie it up. The back line, Jerome Thiessen, Francisco Calvo scoring both goals and getting a point. A critical point for Minnesota.
Look, I think there's no secret that they can score goals. They've done against, was it Portland 3-2? Before that game 2-2. The trouble is they haven't won a game away from home, and they are in a good position against a team that really continues to go forward and is going to get their chances as well. So, I mean, yes, you don't want to concede, but there's plenty of time, and I think if you're Minnesota, you still worry there's plenty of time for NYCFC to turn this round.
18th minute. New York City 0, Minnesota 1. New York City with control. 10 yards inside their own end. Chenot plays a square ball to Alexander Collins, and the center back will drive it into the Minnesota end. He finally gives it away to Sweat. Works the 1-2 with McNamara. Sweat goes down and manages to knock it off the Minnesota player for the first corner of the game.
Yeah, and Glenn, I don't want to be looking for silver linings, but I think Ben Sweat going on the left-hand side, left-footed player, and Mikey Lopez on the right-hand side helps a little bit because ever since the switch, Ben Sweat's been outstanding. You can see the comfort zone right there. I'd like to see more of Jack Harrison because that right-hand side, we haven't seen too much of him yet on the ball, so hopefully NYCFC will rebalance that.
It's Villa on the corner kick, holds his right arm high. He's got Harrison about 15 yards to his right, available short. We've seen David Villa overhit these to try to get to the back post. This time it goes for Wallace. Positioned well in front of Wallace, though, was Thiessen. And the ball, I think, went off of Thiessen's shoulder or some part of his upper body, and it lofts into the air, and it's clutched by Bobby Shuttleworth. And deep in the New York City end, awkwardly, Mikey Lopez heads it back to Eirik Johansson, the goalkeeper, and immediately with a right arm, Johansson slings it wide left for Ben Sweat, who leaves it for McNamara. And now it's Harrison. Jack Harrison slips one down the left flank for Ben Sweat. Ben Sweat dances on the ball a little bit to McNamara. McNamara, well, his first touch fails him, and it's taken away by Minnesota. Molino, who was surging through the midfield from behind Herrera, took him down. We're in the 20th minute. New York City trailing 1-0. When New York City trails this season, they've come back to win 3 of them and tie 1 out of the 8 games that they've trailed. So New York City has that firepower to certainly make up for deficits. Here all alone on the end line and drawing the ball back was Thiessen, who scored his first career MLS goal last week in that 2-2 tie with Vancouver. Ball settles now into the right foot of Alexander Ring to Herrera, back to Ring. Ring in the middle of the park between the circles on his side of the pitch. He finds Collins. Collins plays a very firm, good pacey ball on the deck wide for Rodney Wallace. Wallace to McNamara. McNamara patient as he opens up his hips and hits a long service for Harrison. 1v1 with Thiessen. Beats Thiessen and tries to shoot and beat Shuttleworth on the front post. Shuttleworth with a save. Corner kick, New York City.
Great change of point, really, by McNamara, right? We wanted Jack Harrison to be on the ball. That was a quick. He recognized the space in front of him. Of course, Jack Harrison never afraid to go inside on his left foot. This time, looking towards the near post, I thought it was going to be the usual far post look on this one. Maybe he was trying to surprise Shuttleworth.
Villa on the corner. This time, both arms high into the air as New York City will set up a rehearsed play. Second corner kick of the game, both for New York City. There's one on the deck. And McNamara, his first time shot. You heard the supporters well over the bar. And McNamara just held his head and took a little leap after missing that as McNamara came from the back post area, Janusz.
Yeah.
And he was all alone at the penalty stripe.
They worked on it on the training pitch. We've seen that very, very deep on the far post. Ball played on the ground, of course, as he made that looping run around, and really no pressure. Got underneath the ball from about, what would you say, 10, 11 yards away. Really needed to do much better with this one, because certainly Minnesota did not read that well.
And Maxime Chanot also laid a good pick on Francisco Calvo to free Tommy McNamara. New York City FC welcomes Toronto FC to Yankee Stadium for the first time this season in a rematch of last year's first-round MLS playoff matchup. That'll be on Wednesday, July the 19th, kickoff 7:30. Don't miss your chance to support your city and be part of our 2017 season. Tickets available at nycfc.com, 855-77-NYCFC, or at the Yankee Stadium box office. Minnesota leading New York City 1-0. City with a free kick from about 50 yards straight away. It'll be Ring. And all alone on the left inside channel, edge of the box is Wallace. Puts it across for the first time, shot by Chanot. Never got his knee over the ball, body over the ball. That one, again, whistles over the bar. Missed it by about 10 to 15 yards high.
Another set piece. There was a yellow card to Kevin Molino on the tackle on McNamara. And again, a free from about 16, 17 yards out, centrally located right in front of Minnesota's goal, and a bit nonchalant from Chanot right there as he tried to side-foot it, but really got underneath it well over the bar.
Calvo launches a ball from deep in his own end towards the New York City box, and it causes some issues as no clear possession. The ball bounds around, and finally it's nudged out of the area and out of the danger zone by New York City, but Minnesota still in control. However, Cronin with a poor pass, just looking to go square, and into touch for the New York City throw-in. But again, Minnesota the first to the ball off the second ball, and they put it into City's end. Now it's Mikey Lopez playing fullback on the right side in place of Ronald Matarrita, who left this game injured very early in the match, replaced by Lopez. Matarrita making his first start since mid-April, and the injury woes continue for the Costa Rican, who has 3 assists this year, having missed all those games, tied with Ben Sweat for third place among fullbacks in the league with assists. All right, it'll be a goal kick for Minnesota. Minnesota scoring first on the road for the initial time this season here at Yankee Stadium. They're up 1-0. There'll be a lot of firsts tonight for this expansion franchise if they were to maintain this advantage throughout. They have not won a game on the road. 6 losses and 2 ties. Minnesota with mild pressure from New York City. City really not starting their pressure until about 3/4 field. So with Villa putting some heat on, the ball played wide now into the area where Johan Venegas on the New York City side, unable to control, taken by McNamara, and he side foots it back to the supporting Alexander Ring. He'll change to Mikey Lopez. Lopez still on his side of the pitch with the blue boots. Goes to his left to Chanot. To Ring, the holding midfielder, now has dropped in between the center backs, Chanot and Collins. Collins has it, and he clips a little ball down the flank to Villa, who was in an offside position.
He was good patience from NYC in terms of their build-up. They're trying to stretch Minnesota right now, and they're pretty good. Maybe that final through ball hasn't been on all that much just yet, but ever since the goal, you can tell that Minnesota really haven't had a chance to go forward at all. So not just possession, but the pressure is kind of working. A couple half chances from set pieces for NYC. I think they're going to get their looks, but they got to be careful, of course, with Kevin Molino, of course, and his pace. I don't know if I worry about Christian Ramirez in terms of that on the break. But he sniffs the goal out, doesn't he? We saw that on the first one.
Calvo looks to spin on the dribble, has it taken away, and Calvo, the center back, was into the midfield, and the Costa Rican international tried to blend some clever skills, but in that part of the pitch, it was a turnover, results in a New York City corner kick. So David Villa, New York City, their third corner of the match. Minnesota leads at 1-0. 27 minutes in. Villa now will look for Herrera, who flashes to the front post and is unable to get it on target. He was there with Sam Cronin. Herrera appealing that Cronin the last to touch it, but no. Armando Villarreal says it'll be a goal kick. Villarreal again did the New York City match at Atlanta, 3-1 Atlanta victory. After the game, New York City's head coach Patrick Vieira suggested that MLS referees, for the most part, have difficulty keeping up with the pace of the game, and it was directed at Villarreal in part, but just in general. But the one thing Vieira said, Janis, to be clear and to be fair to him, is he said, it always seems to even out by the end of the year. He was just making a general commentary on the officiating.
Well, especially when you have a team like NYC, so good in transition, very quick in their movement with and without the ball. I can understand that. On that set piece, I don't know if he was right or wrong. I think maybe Cavo did get a touch in the end. What's interesting is that Tommy McNamara's on the ball. I mean, he's been the playmaker so far. I mean, a couple of through balls just before that, the one to David Villa that we got a corner out of. He's been very good in
definitely finding more of the ball, and this time he gets it to Ring, who loops the ball into the area where Herrera challenges. Second ball, Villa can't do anything with it, so Minnesota comes out with it, and the MLS leader in tackles with 72 coming into the match, Alexander Ring, gets another. But now he has it taken away by Ibsen. The Brazilian now has a lot of space in front of him. He elects to go diagonal across his body. It's blocked by McNamara. But back to McNamara for a moment. Maxi Morales missing his third consecutive game with a calf injury. He worked hard this week in training on the side, and I think he's close to coming back. But yes, McNamara is certainly more of the playmaker than we saw against the Red Bulls.
And, he may be close, but, a couple of things to think about, right? You're coming off of a win away at Red Bulls, right? The three in the midfield played so well. You have a game against Vancouver, and then you have a long international break. And this is a long season, and you know how important Maxi Morales is to this team. So if you can't get an opportunity, if you don't miss him, if you will, which they haven't in the last couple of games, why not give him some extra time to make sure when the international break is over, the Gold Cup, when players come back, that he's 100% ready.
30 minutes in, and Minnesota United in control. They have the 1-0 lead, and that was on a keeper error on a shot from distance that Johansson on one hop was unable to bottle up. The ball spilled. Christian Ramirez, alert, never turned off, and knocked it into an open net for the Minnesota United score. 10th goal of the season for Ramirez, so he's tied for the lead in the Western Conference. David Villa, 10 goals to lead New York City FC, who have it on the Minnesota end, about 20 yards deep. And once again, dispossessed off the throw in New York City. Cronin, the holding midfielder, changes the point, and he finds Venegas. Venegas with a long ball, and running the channel is the other Venegas, no relation, Johan Venegas. But he was called offsides. Quick restart for New York City FC, who have lost only one game in their last 16 here at Yankee Stadium, dating back to last season. Calvo on the ball now for Minnesota. Plays it into Molino, first time, back wide left for Thiessen. Coming back to help out Ibarra. Back to Thiessen. Minnesota in possession. Shuttleworth will now play a first-time ball as they knocked it back to their keeper, did Minnesota, and puts it high into the New York City end. And Christian Ramirez challenging with Ring. New York City comes away with it with Collins. A very quiet game thus far, Janis, and it's a murmuring crowd, certainly not a vociferous crowd at this point at Yankee Stadium. Good crowd, though, on a Thursday night. We were trying to predict it. It does look to be in excess of 20,000 here at Yankee Stadium.
Well, it's a tight game. It's a tight field. We know it. Jack Harrison continues to be crowded out of the game right now. You could see on the last play about two, maybe even three white jerseys around him. Very little support. Mikey Lopez is there or thereabout, but I think he has to deal with that new position himself, so he may be cautious the way he's playing right now. So I'd like to think that maybe someone like David Villa, who tends to go towards left, towards Wallace there, and Ben Sweat, maybe if he comes over to Jack Harrison to bring him into the match a little bit more, that would be something that would work, because you do want Jack Harrison to be involved and to get touches on the ball. He hasn't gotten them.
New York City perhaps affected adversely. R.J. Allen, Ethan White, both late for the pregame team meeting. White was taken out of the 18. R.J. Allen scheduled to start is in the 18. But Mikey Lopez inserted as the right back ahead of Allen after the injury to Ronald Matarrita. Long service out of the back. Villa giving chase 1v1 with Kevin Venegas. A little bit battle along the end line. Venegas knocks it out for the corner. So New York City with yet another corner kick. This will be number 4. They have all 4 corners on the day. New York City also out shooting Minnesota 8-2. But United with the lead, and a thunderous header out of the area by Calvo or Jermaine Taylor.
That was Calvo once again. He's been very, very strong so far. I mean, just about every play, he's the one that's breaking it down. He was the one chasing David Villa as well. Give credit to Villa for getting something out of nothing, really, because he was just trying to keep that ball in play and did get a corner. But Calvo strong in the air, of course, and so far reading the game extremely well.
He's only 5'11" as his center back, but dominant in the air thus far. 17 caps for Costa Rica.
I'm 5'11". What are you trying to say?
Well, you were a left back. It's okay to be a little shorter.
It's all about timing. It's all about timing on headers.
Hey, at 5'4", I was taught how to climb the backs of players in order to get on top of it. Lopez now in the final third, along with David Villa. On the counter, though, Minnesota, as Calvo once again comes away with a tackle with Lopez and Villa bearing down on the Minnesota goal. Now the Loons are back at the New York City end. A spinning move by Venegas. Left-footed ball across, and it was deflected, last touched by Minnesota, trying to redirect the header, Kevin Molino. Molino, another great player in the air. Molino scoring a head ball goal, but he was with Orlando City in the dying minutes of extra time to tie a game up here at Yankee Stadium in 2016, 2-2, when Adrian Heath was still coaching Orlando City.
And
Heath now the manager of Minnesota.
Well, great defending by Tommy McNamara. Had to shift over. Look at it. He had a player himself, but saw that cross, which was perfect. Molino looking at Johansson from about 4 yards out, really, with a free header. Well, it would have been a free header because Collins leaves him there. Misses him. Perhaps didn't know where he made that run. And McNamara, forgetting about his players, seeing the danger, comes over and just gives him enough of a push for that header to go wide. Tremendous from Tommy McNamara.
Well, here's Jack Harrison isolated with Thiessen coming over to help, though. He is Venegas, Johan Venegas. Herrera on the ball. Harrison in one tries to play square to Rodney Wallace. Ball loose in the midfield. Finally, Ring gets a hold of it and side foots it to Ben White. Ben Sweat on the left. Rodney Wallace. He spins across from the end line to the top of the 6. There were only Minnesota United defenders there, and they kind of collided into each other, and it's a corner kick. Probably didn't need to be.
Wallace releases that way too early. He's got time to take a look. The support in front of goal wasn't there just yet, but he wasn't marked. He wasn't pressure, as you've mentioned, kind of on the end line there, about 7-8 yards away. Could have waited for somebody to make the run.
Villa with an in-swinger from the far corner to our right here at Yankee Stadium, and that one is cleared out of danger by Minnesota. New York City still in possession with Sweat. Sweat, though, has it poked away by Kevin Molino. And on the counter, here's Minnesota. Laying it for Thiessen, who supports from his fullback position, and Thiessen finds Molino. First touch escapes him, however, and the sliding tackle by Mikey Lopez, and a Minnesota player is down about 10 yards in front of his own 18-yard box, and we'll try to figure out who that is here in a moment. Get exclusive NYCFC news, event invites, and contests. Sign up at nycfc.com/sign up. 37th minute, I'm Glenn Crooks along with Janusz Mahalik. This is New York City FC Soccer from Yankee Stadium, and the home team City trailing Minnesota United 1-0 on the Christian Ramirez goal in the 9th minute, taking advantage of a goalkeeper mistake by Eirik Johansson, playing his first match of the season. Sean Johnson, the regular number one keeper for New York City, away with the U.S. men's national team on international duty. On the roster along with Bill Hamid. Here's Sweat. Cuts it back to his right. He's in the area. Leaves it for Alexander Collins, and it's a goal! Alexander Collins, his second of the season, and Ben Sweat does it again. His fourth assist of the season. That happened quickly, Janusz, as Sweat had it on his left, cut it to the right, and is in the middle of the penalty area and managed to find the trailing Collins.
I don't know if it's Ben Sweat. I think it was a sliding tackle from the Minnesota player that played it into the path of Collins. But give Collins credit because he made the run. He played a beautiful through ball to Ben Sweat on this one. As the ball's cut back, because I think Ben Sweat goes to his right foot. He didn't mean to pass it, but it just turned that way. Although with the help of a Minnesota player there, I'm almost certain of that. Regardless, Collins deserves that superb finish because he started the play, he followed up on the play, and in the end, let's see here, who really passes that? No, it's Ben Sweat, but that's not a pass. He's just putting the ball on his left foot, but Collins continued the sort of short overlap about 4-5 yards away from the goal and puts it away. Let's be honest here, well deserved from NYCFC.
And it didn't come directly from New York City's fifth corner kick, but that's why Collins was so close to the goal, as the corner kick was initially cleared, but Collins stayed in the attacking end and gets his second goal of the year. Brandi Chastain, a lot of people applauding as she is up on the big screen, very happy with the equalizer. She's going to be our halftime guest. It's Sisters of Soccer Night, and Brandi will talk about a book that is authored by a good friend of hers, and we'll describe that at halftime of our broadcast here. 1-1. Collins scored the game winner against Philadelphia a couple of weeks ago, his first career MLS goal. Tonight, it's an equalizer against the Loons.
Gotta enjoy that because Collins has been good defensively. He's been reading things. Maybe with that one play I just described where he lost Molino on the set piece, but tremendous run. Because if you watched it, I know you did, where it started, you could see what he had in mind. Not only with a great pass to pick out Ben Sweat, but just continue his run and just kind of smelt it right there. Look at that run. He knows exactly what he's doing. He's expecting Ben Sweat to play it there, as I've mentioned, kind of incidental in the, in the end, but Collins didn't take anything for granted, continue his run, and got his reward.
Alexander Ring, who entered the ball to Ben Sweat, also gets an assist on that goal. For Ring, it's his third assist of the year. Well, an important goal before intermission, 41st minute, New York City 1, Minnesota 1, and a dangerous ball played square by Calvo to Jermaine Taylor. Jermaine Taylor, one of the players who struggled a bit there in that sequence on the defensive side for Minnesota. Let's face it, Janusz, Minnesota only once have they permitted less than 2 goals in a road match this year, and that was a 1-0 loss at Real Salt Lake. So they leak goals. That's their 39th goal conceded this season.
Well, sometimes you wonder, if some of the goals come too early, especially against a team like New York City, right? I mean, they were content in terms of being organized, sitting back. They really didn't threaten since they got that goal, and now things change. Of course, they may have to open up and try to play.
Ring will take one from distance and misses it badly. He took it away from Molino right at the edge of the center circle on the Minnesota side, drove the ball forward, and about 30 yards out, Ring, he's rubbing his temple as he walks back into a defensive position.
Yeah, he had so much time. He was trying to prepare that ball. You could see that he's frustrated with himself because he had time to get another touch to get the ball in front. But in fact, that touch was a little bit too short. And it's one of those where there's no pressure near him because Cavo was about 5 or 6 yards away. But sometimes, as a player, you put your head down and you think that there's pressure, right? You always have more time than you think. I always found that out. Well, certainly I found that out when I stopped playing. If I knew what I know now, Glenn, I would have been a much, much better player. So much easier from up here.
Janusz Michalek, former MLS and U.S. men's national team defender, 44 caps for our country. Here's Tommy McNamara as the ball's laid off to him by Herrera, and Cronin manages to worm his way in and poke it back into the New York City end. Sam Cronin, wow, when he plays 90 minutes, the Loons give up 1.3 goals per match. When he's not on the pitch, without him, 3.5 goals per match. He's been an important element in the middle of that defense or in front of the back four.
Yeah, many still think that the resurgence is down to him, right? And many wonder why Colorado would let him go. A couple players they let go. I'm trying to think of who the other player was at the time. But, yes, a big plus in that midfield, in that holding role that right now Sam Cronin plays together with Ibsen.
And it's Rodney Wallace looking to ping one in and does so into Villa, but Villa guarded well by Taylor. Villa playing with his back to the goal, but New York City has it back with Herrera, intended for Villa. And this one is intercepted by Venegas. Johan Venegas opens his hips up to play it wide right along the touchline. Just inside the New York City end was Ibarra. There's a good amount of exchanging between Ibarra, Venegas, and Molino. Molino officially starting on the right side in a right wing position, but he's done most of his damage tonight centrally.
Yeah, he's been central. I was just going to talk about that because I'm trying to figure out where he plays. He seems to be, have the license to roam a little bit. I'm trying to figure out if that's good or bad in terms of their shape.
Ibsen, who has 3 assists on the season, considered a playmaker in the mode of a Pirlo from that 6th position, and Villa trying to split the center backs, and technically it just got away from him as he was trying to go side on and then propel that ball past, but right there to stop it was Cronin again.
It was a great idea because it was Tommy McNamara with an early ball on the ground, but played a little bit behind, I think, Villa.
In the box at the other end is Minnesota. Back to the goal, and now playing it back to Cronin, who's 35 yards out straight away. An angled run in from Ibarra, flicks it to Ramirez, who is darting into the area in between Collins and Chenot, but the ball goes out for the goal kick.
Yeah, just before halftime, a minute before halftime right now. When I look at it, good news for NYC, and it could be bad news from Minnesota for me, is that I don't know if you get that feeling that NYCFC have been good without Harrison and Villa, really. Villa's done a little bit more, but not in positions that you expect him to be, not in dangerous position so far. So I suppose if you get those two going.
And New York City with Jack Harrison on the ball. He's along the end line now, carries it about 5 yards out and puts one of those classic Harrison left-footed bending balls to the back post where Villa chases it down, and now it's Sam Cronin along with Johan Venegas dropping deep to defend. New York City throw-in along the far touchline, and now it's lost out of bounds, and it'll be 3 minutes of stoppage time here in the first half. New York City won, and Minnesota won. City equalizing in the 38th minute on an Alexander Collins goal, while Christian Ramirez, his 10th of the year, had opened up the scoring in the 9th minute for the visiting Loons. Here's Wallace dancing around the defenders, left edge of the box, looking for Herrera. Ball deflected away, regaining control. Alexander Ring, he sits in that area, and he's always the release point in case there's any pressure. Villa chests it down, side-winding shot is over the bar. Villa with a half chance, unable to put it on frame, and Villa goes down. He's still down, clutching his right leg a bit. He's sitting right on the 6-yard box, right edge line.
Just as he was ready to volley that ball. He's in a lot of pain. I think he just walked into the studs of Kevin Venegas, didn't he? I mean, Venegas obviously has got to stretch his leg to block the potential shot from Villa, and it kind of hits the ball and into the studs of Venegas, and that's why that is so painful. And as the ball comes over on the left-hand side, Villa chests it down, but it gets away from him a little bit, and you can see that's good defending. Yeah, it's painful. I get that, but if you're Venegas, you got to go for it. You got to try to block it.
And you talked about Villa being a bit on the periphery, Janis. That's his first shot of the game. Sweat has room left. Whips in across with the left foot. Outswinger. As Mikey Lopez, the right back, was looking to attack it. Ball deflected top of the box. Here's Robbie Wallace. A free shot with the left. Save! Bobby Shuttleworth. Big save by the veteran. This is Shuttleworth's 5th game against New York City. The other 4 as a member of the New England Revolution. Here in the latter stages of this half, New York City trying to add another. Lopez with a right foot across. The late run by Alexander Collins again in the area.
Yes.
And Collins taking the liberty to go forward, Janis, perhaps because Ramirez is the only forward back, so it's really almost 3 versus 1.
Absolutely. He smells it. He knows that coming in late pays dividends, which we saw in the first goal. There's a good opportunity for Wallace there. Great composure and patience really on that one, to shake off a couple of Minnesota players. And as you've mentioned, Bobby Shuttleworth with a great save, full extension. Such an important save, right? Just before halftime. I think Minnesota United at the moment can't wait for that. We'll get some pushing and shoving.
And Armando Villarreal, the referee, is sprinting to his right, just on the New York City side. Not directly in front of the New York City bench, but in that vicinity. Getting another look on the replay of the shot by Wallace and the save by Bobby Shuttleworth, extending the left palm, pushing it away out of danger. For Wallace, that was his first shot of the game. He had an assist last week against Red Bulls, his first since he had 2 plus a goal versus Atlanta, a home victory here. The other expansion team in MLS, Atlanta, that season series is over. New York City beating Atlanta here at Yankee Stadium, but then losing by the identical 3-1 score at Bobby Dodd Stadium, the home of Georgia Tech.
Yeah, all the commotion here as we're going to see a yellow card, but it was Johan Venegas and David Villa kind of head-to-head, challenging each other. Obviously, it was a bit of a tackle there from David Villa. Venegas didn't appreciate that, and words were exchanged, and I think there was a yellow card shown. I'm just not
yellow
sure.
Card on Villa. Kevin Molino also carded for Minnesota earlier in the game, and Johan Venegas will get booked as well. So Venegas and Villa, their skirmish, for what it's worth, has earned them both a yellow card. And now Villa looking to run in behind Jermaine Taylor. He was offsides. The delivery from Rodney Wallace. Wallace has 4 assists on the season, and that'll do it here in the first half of play. Well, New York City, they were down a goal, but they managed to equalize. They had the best of it, out shooting Minnesota 10-3. Corners, 5 for City, none for Minnesota United. The pressure all on the Minnesota goal. However, Minnesota in search of their first road victory. It's level at halftime. New York City won and Minnesota United won. When we return, our halftime activities with special guest Brandy Chastain. You're listening to New York City FC Soccer on WFAN.com.
What if you could get urgent care from a world-class doctor at New York's #1 hospital while on vacation in Montauk? What if you could visit with your world-class doctor at New York's #1 hospital without leaving your couch? And what if you could receive a second opinion from a world-class doctor at New York's #1 hospital from across the nation? You can. Welcome to NYP On Demand from New York Presbyterian. Discover a suite of medical services right on your phone, tablet, or computer. Available on the NYP app and NYP.org. SodaPro.com/on-demand.
There's only one St. Mary's Healthcare System for children, for kids requiring specialized rehabilitative care.
To learn more, visit stmaryskids.org, where we believe in possible.
It's summertime, 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 and it's time for you to spruce up your home's exterior. Call SodaPro Painters, give it a new coat of paint, and you'll be amazed at what a difference it makes. Not only will you feel better about your biggest investment, but your neighbors will be green with envy. There's only one company to call for this, and that's SodaPro. They have my official seal of approval. That's right. You know they painted in my house, and how happy Terry and I have been with their work. They're neat, they're clean, and just do outstanding work. You going on vacation? Give SodaPro a call today. Come back to a newly painted house. So if your paint is chipping, peeling, fading, or if you just want a new look, give my friends at SodaPro a call, and they'll take great care of you for all your painting needs, interior or exterior. Call SodaPro Painters today, 1-800-GO-SODA, 1-800-GO-SODA, or go to SodaPro.com, 1-800-GO-SODA, or SodaPro.com. At SodaPro, we do painting, you do life.
Each SodaPro painter's business is independently owned and operated.
I never eat breakfast the traditional way. That's because I'm a life hacker, and I like to save time. That's why I prefer to crack an egg straight into my coffee, so I can eat while I drink. Oh, and my parking spot? I reserved it with the free Spot Hero app while I was toweling off. That way I don't have to circle the block 10 times searching for a spot. Now that's a good cup of coffee egg. Or egg coffee. Download the free Spot Hero app and get an extra $10 off your first spot with promo code SAVE. Spot Hero. Park smarter.
Glenn Crooks back at Yankee Stadium, where New York City FC and Minnesota United are at 1-1. Christian Ramirez scoring in the 9th minute to open up for Minnesota. But Alexander Collins, his second of the year, in the 38th minute, makes it 1-1 at the halftime interval. Well, I want to welcome in a special guest. She's a former U.S. women's national team player and much more. Welcome, Brandy Chastain. Hi, Brandy.
Hi, Glenn. Thank you for having me.
Oh, it's
what
great.
A great view you have.
This is great. Are you a baseball fan? This is the house that Jeter built,
listen,
not the house that Ruth built. But
I'm a big fan of Derek Jeter. He's a good friend, but I love soccer. I like baseball. I love soccer.
Well, we're behind home plate here, where the radio broadcasts are also sustained. But here it's a soccer pitch, and it looks rather nice tonight. And for New York City, what do you think of MLS? What did you think of the first half?
Well, we were entertaining hundreds of young girls before the game started, so I didn't get to see the first goal, so I'm not sure what happened. But actually, the keeper spilled what should have been an easy save, and he's playing his first game of the season, so maybe a bit rattled with the early stages of the match. A little bit of that, and, after coming off such a big win against Red Bulls, right, you can always have this letdown after one of those games, so maybe there's a little bit of that by the 10 in front of him. But in the latter part of the first half, I saw, a lot of positive play by New York, and the goal was outstanding because the movement was good. It drew the defenders out of the space, and it was pretty simple.
Well, you were a defender. I mean, you were an attacker first.
Right. I'm an attacker, Glenn. Let's just be honest. Listen, I was an attacker coming from a defensive position.
Yes, but as a back, your worst, the thing that you don't want the players to move. If they just run straight lines, thank you very much. But once there's good movement off the ball, that's what unbalances a back line, right?
Well, David Villa just stepped forward maybe 3 or 4 yards, and the defender has to choose. Do I go with him because I should, because he's very dangerous, but if I do, then I leave a big gap, and that's what happens. So, as a defender, you have to make a lot of choices in terms of where the attackers are moving, and do you have good relationships with the players around you? So.
Well, Brandy, this is Soccer Sisters Night. It's wonderful to have you on the East Coast. You're not always here on this right-hand coast.
Yeah.
And it's a special night for you because you have a good friend who's authored a book. Tell us a little bit about what this night's about.
Well, tonight with my dear friend Andrea Montalbano, who is an author of the Soccer Sisters series. When we were growing up, she and I both played collegiate soccer, and during our young careers, there were no books about girls who looked like us or played like us, and so she's given a new generation some books, some resources, an opportunity for young girls to see girls that look like themselves and, ask some questions, maybe answer some questions, basically find themselves in these literature, in this literature. And so it's really wonderful to be here with her because she's a very strong, smart, athletic woman, and she's giving back what we didn't have as young players.
And you didn't have the kind of role models that you have become and the current players are, and that's so important as well. And, there's all this discussion about, empowering the females to, you look at the coaching profession. Are there enough women in that profession?
No. Sorry, was that too quick to answer? No. No.
So why is that? So I go to the National Soccer Coaches Convention. And that's coaches.
Yep.
From all different, the high school, club, college, professional, 90% men, 10% women. I would say. I'm estimating, but I think I'm probably close.
Yeah, I'm not so sure it's that big of a number, but it's definitely, coaching women and coaching women's soccer has become an occupation. And so there's a lot of competition for those positions, especially at the collegiate level. My husband coaches at Santa Clara University. And so I think in the early 1970s, the percentage of women coaching women was very high. 70s maybe. And now it's like 13. So it's really low because those jobs are really good jobs. And, women have to make choices a lot more, I feel, than our counterparts. And so, we have family, we have work, we have, responsibility at home, and I think it gets a little bit difficult. But I would implore any woman listening to be involved in coaching because as a coach, being a coach is a gift. You get to influence young people. You get to help them shape their lives going forward. And your experience on the field, like myself, the experience I've had on the field is really important, and it needs to be shared.
So in your estimation, as you look around the country and travel around the country, do you feel women are a bit intimidated about those positions? Are they being held back by male society? I mean, we can, I'll give you a minute or two to pontificate on this.
Man, I didn't know we were getting to such a heavy situation here, but no, Glenn, I think.
Well, this is a women's night, so I'm more on this.
I think it's a little bit of everything, to be honest with you. I think it's women having to make tough choices. I think it's, we try to balance ourselves that we can live in all these different places, and, as a woman who's doing coaching, I'm a mom, I'm a wife, I play sometimes, and so, you have to make those choices, and those are tough. But I'm happy to say that there are a lot of women out there who are being role models and who are coaching at the highest level. For me, my dream is to coach one of our national teams, and, I hope I get a chance. I really feel that the experience I've had, both on the field and now off the field, is important to share, and would be great. I would love to share that with our young elite athletes.
Well, and we recognize that there's more to it than just the ability to teach the game technically and tactically. It's about managing the entire situation. You were on with me on my Sirius XM program last week regarding the passing of Tony DeCicco, and he was a perfect example of that, wouldn't you say?
Oh, Tony was an amazing person, tremendous heart, incredible leader. He allowed his players to be themselves and to get out into the field and make mistakes and express themselves. And he really knew how to bring a team together. He didn't care about his name being front and center. He didn't care about whether people were recognizing him. He wanted the team to be successful. And I learned a lot from him. I really feel like it's my responsibility to continue coaching the way he coached because he was that good.
And he was one of the first guys I sat down and talked about the 4-3-3 with. And when I watched New York City and they play the 4-3-3, your husband Jerry Smith, he was the second one I spoke to. He'll remember that. I sat with him and we really. The thing I was always impressed is that my favorite goal is the left back serving the right back for a goal at Santa Clara. Both fullbacks were allowed to go, right?
Oh, absolutely. Hey, when it's on, Glenn. You got to play it. I think, the thing I love about soccer, and, I'm going to start coaching at the DA level for the California Thorns.
Fantastic.
The 04s. I'm really excited about it. And for me, it's not about, what position you play. It's can you read the game in the different thirds of the field, whether we're defending or we're attacking, we're in the midfield with possession. Can you help those players recognize those moments? And that really is what soccer's all about, because your position is basically where you stand before the whistle is blown. And then as soon as the whistle goes, it's soccer.
All right. You have time for a selfie?
Totally.
Let's do this on air. All right, here we go. Ready? Brandy Chastain, everybody, thank you so much. Thank you for being here. Soccer Sisters Night here in New York City, man.
Hey, enjoy that hot dog I brought you. Yankee dog.
And mustard and ketchup. Beautiful. Thank you. It's 1-1 here at Yankee Stadium when we return. Start of the second half, New York City 1, Minnesota 1. You're listening to New York City FC Soccer on WFAN.com.
Not sure what brand tire to buy? Town Fair Tire has them all. Michelin, Goodyear, Firestone, Bridgestone, Pirelli, Toyo, Yokohama, Hankook, and more. No matter what size or brand, Town Fair Tire beats all the competition, even online prices. We'll also do a free front wheel alignment with any tire purchase. Name brand tires. The lowest prices. Free alignment. Nobody beats Town Fair Tire. Nobody.
Name brands at discount prices. Town Fair Tire.
I just looked quickly to see who was texting me. I never text and drive.
I was just changing my music. My eyes never left the road, I swear.
He was just there. He came out of nowhere in the middle of the block. Is he going to be okay?
Drivers and pedestrians, see and be seen. The instant you stop paying attention could be the instant you'll always regret.
A message from the Governor's Traffic Safety Committee and the New York State Departments of Health and Transportation.
What if you could get urgent care from a world-class doctor at New York's #1 hospital while on vacation in Montauk? What if you could visit with your world-class doctor at New York's #1 hospital without leaving your couch? And what if you could receive a second opinion from a world-class doctor at New York's #1 hospital from across the nation? You can. Welcome to NYP On Demand. From New York Presbyterian, discover a suite of medical services right on your phone, tablet, or computer. Available on the NYP app and nyp.org/on-demand.
An ice-cold Sapporo is the perfect complement to enjoy red-hot NYCFC action. Please share Sapporo responsibly.
This is Morgan Freeman, executive producer of the documentary The C Word. And I'm here to tell you that defeating cancer takes breakthroughs. A breakthrough is the start of something extraordinary. You, the patients, taking part in clinical trials. You, the scientists, doing next-level research to beat cancer. You, the doctors who care for everyone. Let's be the breakthrough.
To learn about screenings and clinical trials, go to standuptocancer.org/breakthrough. Please talk to your healthcare provider about appropriate screenings and clinical trials.
There's only one St. Mary's healthcare system for children, for kids requiring specialized rehabilitative care.
To learn more, visit stmaryskids.org, where we believe in possible.
1877 Cars for Kids. KARS Cars for Kids. 1877 Cars for Kids. Donate your car today. 1877 Cars for Kids. KARS Cars for Kids. 1877 Cars for Kids. Donate your car today.
To learn more about our programs and to donate, go to carsforkids.com. That's Cars with a K. Pickup is quick and easy. You'll also get a vacation voucher and maximum tax deduction.
1877 Cars for Kids. KARS Cars for Kids. 1877 Cars for Kids. Donate your car today.
Also accepting boats, motorcycles, RVs, and real estate donations.
Glenn Crooks and Janusz Mihalik back at Yankee Stadium. We're just about set to kick off the second half, where New York City FC on a 38th minute Alexander Collins goal, assisted by Ben Sweat and Alexander Ring, managing to equalize after the 9th-minute goal by Minnesota's Christian Ramirez, his 10th of the season. For Collins, his second goal. But you said it in the latter stages of the half, Janusz, that it was a well-deserved goal for New York City.
Well, I thought so. I mean, not just possession, but obviously pressuring. They just couldn't get that final pass. But the combination play was there. Clearly, you could see the blueprint from NYCFC. Whereas from Minnesota, after the goal, they really stopped attacking, right? I mean, you didn't see too many threats from them. They were content, at least at the time, for the result. So, yes, I mean, you've mentioned, of course, the shots and everything else. I thought it was very important. But, Glenn, I think it was important psychologically, right? Because they got that goal and they can build on that rather than not equalizing and then pressing perhaps in the second half to look not just for the equalizer but for the winner. This is a huge opportunity. This is the sort of game that if you're NYCFC, you've got to get 3 points. Let's be honest.
That's the way they felt coming in, and that's the way they're going to feel over these latter 45 minutes, second half. And this could be a wild... Don't tune away. Do not tune away, because
you're right.
Minnesota has conceded 10 goals and scored 9 goals in the first 15 minutes of the second half this year.
I think you're absolutely right. I think the second half is going to be even more interesting. I think that the adjustments are going to be made. As I've mentioned, NYC and Patrick Vieira will know the importance of that, right? Going within 2 points of Toronto, 1 point of Chicago. With the break coming in, you want to build on that momentum. Big win over Seattle and the Red Bulls, of course, and anything but 3 points would have been disappointing.
And the second half is underway. New York City FC, this half will move right to left. They're wearing their dark blue home kits with orange trim. Meanwhile, Minnesota in their road white with blue trim. Alexander Ring, he extends his right leg to prevent an entrance ball. Looks like Christian Ramirez was trying to push it into Venegas. Now the ball back in the Minnesota end, and it'll be a New York City throw-in about 25 yards from the far right corner flag. No, actually a free kick has been summoned by Armando Villarreal, rather. And should note also that tonight's game is an offline test for video assistant referee, VAR. 2 hours left. There are a host of MLS and pro officials who are running this. There's a table with a monitor next to the television camera for yes near the halfway line. Free kick with Harrison over the ball and David Villa. Villa's going to take it, angled right, bends it in, and Chanot at the back post gets his head on it, but it soars over the goal. Last touch, though, by the Loon, so it'll be the 6th corner kick of the game for New York City. Chanot challenging Jermaine Taylor in the area, and Villa, as he has in the previous 5, will take the corner from the left corner. So this will be an in-swinger unless he drives the ball, holds his right hand high in the air. Score tied at 1, just underway second half, and laying out for the header, and this time it's Yangel Herrera just outside the 6-yard box, and he collided with a Minnesota player. Foul called. Minnesota, New York City, their first and only regular season meeting of the season. It's the first time they've played this expansion unit against the team that's only been in the league for 3 years.
Great corner, by the way, from David Villa. A great run by Herrera, as you mentioned. Sam Cronin pays the price in the end, but kind of run to the near post, trying to redirect the ball towards the far post. I think it actually goes off the back of Yangel Herrera in this one, but he gets sacrificed, and so did Cronin, and he continues to stay down, and really looks more serious than I thought initially on this one, as this looks to be a pretty long stoppage in play.
Join us for any 5 home matches of your choice in 2017. The 5-match plan was designed to fit your busy schedule. Sign with your club today and get your 5-match plan by calling 855-77-NYCFC or visiting nycfc.com. Cronin still being tended to. And off that corner, again, New York City working what you could call a pick play by setting up Herrera, who runs from the back area to get himself free. And you got two guys on the field here, Janusz, while we still have a stoppage in play. Herrera and Ben Sweat, and they combined on a very important goal this year where they both served notice. It was at Columbus. Ben Sweat making his first MLS appearance against the team that drafted him in 2014, and he gets an assist down 2-1 with his right foot, by the way, on Herrera's head ball goal, the 19-year-old making his initial start in place of Andrea Pirlo. So it was really, in essence, a bit of a changing of the guard at that moment. Sweat was in for Matarrita, who was injured, but Patrick Vieira can't get him out of the lineup now. He's been that effective.
Yeah, Ben Sweat had to work hard for it. That's more of a surprise, a little bit of a story, right? When we looked at him in preseason, perhaps, I have to admit there was a time that I wasn't sure if he was going to make the team. I was somewhat surprised that he did. Credit to him. I didn't think he was a bad player. I just didn't think he was going to make it. And then look what's happening now with Herrera. I think we always knew that given a little bit of time, obviously as he came in, Manchester City player, needed some time, paperwork and all that good stuff. I just had a feeling that eventually he's going to work himself into that lineup anyway. And looks like Cronin is fine. By the way, it was his right shoulder. Looked like, I don't know if he dislocated it, but came down hard off of that header on his right shoulder.
So play back in, and McNamara has it, surging through the midfield, and then plays it left for Sweat. And he pings one in to Rodney Wallace, who's about 2 yards inside the area. Couldn't handle the velocity of that pass. It took a short hop on Wallace. So here's Minnesota on the counter. Ramirez, it was Thiessen who was trying to slip him with the left foot, but Chanot anticipated to pick it off. Now Mikey Lopez playing right back. The normal midfielder pushes one with the outside of his right foot square for Villa. Villa into Lopez. He moves off the ball for the 1-2. Instead of goes to McNair. Now a ball whipped across and cleared out by Calvo. And ball taken just inside the Minnesota end by Alexander Collins. Wide to Ben Sweat. Sweat to McNamara. Looping ball over the defense. Looking to return to Sweat. And it goes out for a goal kick.
And NYCFC committing almost all the players. So what we see in the back on the halfway line is Chanot against Christian Ramirez. This is how comfortable NYCFC feels. I'd like to see another player just in case, right, for cover. But obviously Christian Ramirez is not going to beat too many for pace. I'm still a little bit surprised by the roar of Molino, because in a game like this where really the only way Minnesota is going to cause problems is on the set piece or maybe some sort of a break, to me Molino being so deep centrally is almost not a threat. I'd like to see him a little bit higher or maybe even a little bit wider if Minnesota are to have any chances here right now.
Ramirez again trying to burst through, and instead it's Eirik Johansson who got off to a rough start in his first start of the season, his first minutes of the season, where he spilled a shot from distance, and Ramirez followed to give Minnesota the 1-0 lead. Here's a header and a goal by Jack Harrison from Rodney Wallace. Wallace with a left-footed service and a wide-open Harrison at the edge of the six just nods it into the back of the net. Goal, New York City FC, and they lead Minnesota United 2-1.
And Jack Harrison ghosting in on the far post, and I suppose this is right because he's been a little bit of a ghost. We haven't seen him the entire game, but first, great delivery from Wallace. Absolutely perfect towards the far post. And then really, I think it was Thiessen that fell asleep because Jack Harrison wide open on it. Good technical header, really. Headed it down, had to reach down for it just a little bit. Hits the ground before it goes in. And I think even Jack Harrison has got to be surprised how wide open he was. Tommy McNamara involved in the build-up. On the left-hand side, Wallace plays it to the far post. And look at this. Panic in Thiessen's eyes, really, for the most part, because he's realizing as that ball is in the flight that Harrison's coming in. So certainly Thiessen won't want to watch the tape of that.
Well, Harrison, it was still an excellent finish.
Yeah.
He was actually about 2 yards outside of the 6 box, and he had to beat Shuttleworth on the front post. And it was a header with a lot of velocity. He was headed down, and it skipped in front of the goal line and then into the back of the net. Collins looking to change for New York City, picked off of the midfield by Ibarra. Ibarra, though, has it knocked away by Alexander Ring. And, man, Alexander Ring continues to build on what is his legacy in what is the early stages, obviously, of his New York City career. There are certainly some clamorings in Europe, across the seas, about this guy Alexander Ring. There is certainly some discussion going on about the potential movement of Ring. You know, when you play well and MLS, can spurn the careers or promote the careers of a lot of players.
Well, that means that the team and Patrick Vieira are doing some things right. This is still a young franchise, isn't it? And you could see them grow from the beginning. Some issues, right? The balance is a little bit better, but going forward, it's always been a pretty good team under Patrick Vieira in terms of attacking. So everyone's playing well, so people are starting to pay attention.
And we mentioned Matarrita earlier, that Ben Sweat had taken the place of the injured Matarrita. Villa, top of the box, has it on his left foot. He's trying to squeeze his way through. Could not, and the ball squirms loose, and then it's picked up by Bobby Shuttleworth, rolled gingerly to Shuttleworth.
Villa's forcing things a little bit, but as I've said, I mean, they've played well without Villa and Jack. And
Eirik Johansson, here's a ball played through, and this is a lack of communication, a lack of minutes together, where Johansson and Chenot, along with Christian Ramirez for Minnesota, met all at the top of the box. It was a three-player collision, and all three players came away with some sort of a knock. Chenot and Ramirez are both limping, and Johansson got up slow.
Well, to paint the picture, Chenot's running with pressure on his back, 18 yards out. That's where Johansson was, on the 18-yard line. And obviously lack of communication. Chenot really didn't look as well, because I think if he takes a look, regardless of what kind of communication there was, I think he can avoid that and let Johansson just pick the ball up. But rustiness, that is for sure. This, as I've mentioned, that confidence of not playing isn't there just yet. Because other than that one goal that he conceded, I don't remember him having to make another save since the one that he gave Minnesota a goal, really.
Well, Johansson credited with one save, and then the Ramirez finish off the rebound of a shot that certainly Johansson should have handled from 30 to 35 yards from Venegas. But New York City, for the third time this year, perhaps two other times, they've worked their way back from 1-0 deficits, most recently against Seattle. Also did it against Philadelphia. Down 1-0 here tonight at Yankee Stadium. They're up 2-1 again. Herrera between the circles. And a whistle blown by Armando Villarreal, our referee tonight. 10 minutes gone by here in the second half. New York City 2 and Minnesota 1.
And Glenn, if you go back to the Red Bulls game, right, the midfield three were outstanding. And I think both you and I had a hard time figuring out who was better. Was it Ring or Herrera? And McNamara, by the way, was very good as well. But between those two, they were outstanding. Tonight for me, it's Tommy McNamara. Simple things, little details, little passes, being in the right spot, moving the ball well, 2 feet, 2 space whenever it's needed. I am really impressed, and I really like what Tommy McNamara is doing now. A little bit of a playmaker tonight, isn't he?
He has been, and looking to playmake there was Thiessen with a measured right-footed bender in search of Christian Ramirez, and Johansson comes out confidently off his line to deflect it out for what will be the first corner kick of the game for Minnesota United. It'll be taken by Ibsen, the Brazilian. Played with Minnesota since 2015. Outswinger with a right. Ball loose to Molina off the short hop. Foul call, though, against Minnesota United on the first ball. And back to Matarrita for a minute. Wasn't able to finish that thought from earlier. He's missed 8 games this year with a high ankle sprain. And he was deemed 100% fit, ready to go today in the starting lineup. And within 5 minutes of the first half, some sort of a right foot injury had to depart. Mikey Lopez entered the game and has played fullback since on the right side, moving Ben Sweat to the left, his more natural spot. And as you've said numerous times in the broadcast now, Janis, Sweat much more comfortable and has provided an assist on the first goal. And here's a turnover. Ring with the steal. Finds Villa through, and a saving tackle by Jermaine Taylor from the weak side. Villa in. Shuttleworth was sprinting off his line It looked like Villa had this one eyed up, but Taylor reaches out with the right foot to poke it away for the corner.
But it all starts with Angel Herrera in the center of the pitch, winning a great tackle to allow Ring to play a great through ball. What do you think? It was probably 25, 30-yard pass in between two defenders. Good defending for sure there from Jermaine Taylor.
7th corner kick. It's David Villa, 59th minute, New York City, trying to build on their 2-1 advantage. Villa, outswinger from the far corner. Chanot the target, as he is so often on that front post area. And again, unable to get it on frame. It's out for the goal kick. Another head ball for Chanot. He wins the first header a lot, Janusz, but other than that one goal, the equalizer at against Philadelphia here at Yankee Stadium, his only MLS goal, he's been unable to just get those shots on target.
Yeah, as I've said, it's a lot of times about timing, isn't it? It's good that he's getting there, right? Because at the very least, you know that eventually he's going to figure this out.
Jack Harrison, his 8th goal of the year, has given New York City the 2-1 lead. Harrison now with 4 goals in his last 6 matches. Foul called, quick restart. Ring, who has taken over the distance set pieces from Maxi Morales. Here's a one-time flick for Villa, looking for Wallace. Shuttleworth timed his arrival, slid to caress and corral that ball in as Wallace arrived. And Shuttleworth distributes quickly to Thiessen on the left.
Oh, what a flick from David Villa. But again, the entry ball from Tommy McNamara with a great pace, allowing Villa to just flick that ball on into Wallace, wasn't it? And those two, perfect understanding. Wallace knew exactly what Villa wanted to do. So again, 3 players combining, all started with Tommy McNamara.
All right, Minnesota at the back. Pressure Villa. Combination between the holding mid and now Thiessen on the left. Ball through to Ramirez, and he finds the runner back in the area.
Alexander
and
Ring.
It's out for a corner as Ring was able to defend the runner.
Ring is everywhere, isn't he? It's a good build-up. Molino, not the best of angles. He was trying to play that ball across. Christian Ramirez ready to tap it in from about a half a yard, but Ring never gave up on it.
And Ring, the man on this corner, as he sacrificed, as he went up hard. Multiple players challenging for the ball. Ring gets it, and he deflects it to the far side of the field. And here's a second ball served back in by Kevin Venegas, known as a very admirable attacking right back, but no goals, no assists this year. However, this just his 3rd start, and that one out for the goal kick.
And look at high pressure from Minnesota. Last couple of build-ups were dangerous, right? On this last one, as you mentioned, Venegas delivering that ball. Calvo with a header over the bar on this one. But again, here comes Minnesota. High pressure span off.
Ramirez drifting away, hoping that Ibarra could find him, but Ibarra is enveloped by 3 New York City defenders, Ring among them, along with Chanot and Herrera. And ball now into touch. It'll be a New York City throw-in. 62nd minute. Goals by, yes, Alexander Collins, his 2nd of the year for the left center back. And Jack Harrison, his 8th of the season, continues to build on his career high, and this his sophomore season in MLS. No sophomore jinx for Jack Harrison, now with 12 career goals. And in the box, this is Harrison. Villa loose. Villa finishes with the left foot to the right of the goal from about 12 yards out. Villa with an uncontested left-footed drive beats Bobby Shuttleworth to the far post, and New York City, an insurance goal. They now lead Minnesota 3-1.
What an individual effort from David Villa, of course. Starts on the sideline, about 18 yards away. Nutmegs one defender, rides a tackle right there, and still puts it away to the far post, as I said, in the first half. They play without Jack Harrison and David Villa. Imagine if those two contribute. And of course they have, because you just can't keep him quiet. Just too good of a player, either or. But David Villa showing incredible leadership. He was frustrated, but I knew he was going to go after it, and eventually that's going to pay off. That's a tremendous, tremendous goal. And what an individual effort that was. Where's you look when you get a chance?
Well, Villa, it was uncontested because he beat 3 players off the dribble to work himself 3 inside the penalty area. For Villa, his 11th goal of the season. He now leads MLS with 4 multi-goal games this season. The reigning MLS MVP having another outstanding year. 6 assists to go along with those 11 goals. And New York City leads Minnesota United 3-1. First game played in Week 18 of MLS here on a Thursday night in the Bronx.
I just knew he was going to score, and I've been watching him because he's that sort of player that he's going to be frustrated because things aren't going his way. He knows he's working hard enough. He knows he's getting spots, but that touch is just not there. Always kind of, looking for an opening. And it just hasn't happened to him. And if it didn't happen, he wouldn't be happy. You know how he is, right? It's not that he's selfish, but he knows that he needs to contribute. He feels good about himself when he does. And boy, did he do it on this one.
David Villa, 59 goals scored for Spain. The most in the history of that prestigious country on the level. And He's a goal scorer, Janis. I mean, he's a goal scorer.
He absolutely is, but he does so much more than that. If you look at his time in Barcelona, remember what was it, 99 and 2000 when they won every trophy possible. 6 of them, right? The European Championship, Super Cup, this, that, and the other. It was down to him. I mean, people talk about Neymar, Messi, and Suarez, but I'll tell you, when it was Messi, Pedro, and Villa, that Barcelona team was much, much better because it was simpler, right? Messi would just find Villa in behind the back four, and Pedro with pace. They played 1 or 2 touch, and they were unstoppable. Think about that. And he's here right now doing the same thing.
All right, well, we're 2/3 of the way through in this match as Alexander Ring, a searching diagonal ball for Harrison, finds Harrison. Harrison along the end line, pullback in the air. Herrera was the closest to it, and a saving touch by Minnesota, out for another New York City corner.
If you're a good player, you're a good player, because, the funny thing is that if David Villa goes back to Spain, La Liga, in Barcelona, he continues to play as well as he did when he was there first, right? Many see Major League Soccer maybe as a downgrade, certainly not for David Villa. He embraces the league. He's got the right attitude about the league and the team, and he's been superb so far.
His 52nd goal career MLS, now takes the corner, drives it to McNamara, and that was shades of the first corner taken of the game when McNamara worked his way from the back, got about 3 picks. That one was on the deck, that first one. This one was in the air, and McNamara kind of whiffed.
I tell you, and he's working hard. I mean, he's made that run from in front of the goalkeeper and almost got there too soon, right? That ball behind him in the end didn't know how to do it. But, I'm surprised that Minnesota are not seeing this, because you're absolutely right. It's exactly the same as the first time. The team is certainly trying to get him there.
Since 2015, Villa, the most goals in MLS with those 52. The guy across the river, Bradley Wright Phillips, next at 49. So here in our New York metropolitan area, we've got the 2 top goal scorers in MLS over the last 3 seasons. Pretty special. All right, Minnesota in a precarious situation in terms of their road record. They are winless on the road. Here's one to Eirik Johansson, cannot handle. That was Venegas. He was along the end line, and he just drove it at the front post. And again, a bit shaky. Eirik Johansson, that rebound off of Johansson was in a dangerous area, but New York managed to clear the box, and Minnesota now has it back at the halfway line.
It's a difficult one, but you're right. He kind of put it out there. Kevin Molino was very, very close, right, to tap that in maybe. So it's tough to catch it cleanly from that sort of distance with that pace. But yeah, you're right. If you're confident, if you're playing a lot, if you have your rhythm, I think you do better with that one.
Well, depending on how deep the United States men's national team goes into the Gold Cup, if they advance, then we know that Johansson will, we know he's got to play. He'll start at Vancouver next Wednesday. But if New York's, if the U.S. men's national team gets through the group stage, then it would be apparent that Toronto FC, a home match on July 20th, and even the Fire match against Chicago on 7/22, July 22nd. Minnesota now with a free kick effort, and Calvo up from his center back position looking to work hard to get on the end of it, cannot. And now a looping ball in. That was a bench service from Ibarra on the left side of the pitch after the ball was cleared to Johansson. He put both feet behind the goal line but caught the ball in front of the goal line. And occasionally you'll hear the fans bellow and sigh off of something like that, but the entire ball has to cross the plane.
But, you mentioned Johansson and what's in front of him. I think he's going to get some games under his belt.
So at least 2 games total, possibly 3 or 4, where he'll be the man. And back at the other end, Villa squanders an opportunity. He was to the left of the goal, and Villa looking to tack another one on.
Yeah, it's so easy to point out his mistakes. That's clear, right? I think he'd be the first one to admit for sure. But I think he deserves the benefit of the doubt. Coming in here with this result, if it holds true, at least the team is going to do the job in front of him, right? And maybe that mistake can be easily forgotten, and see if he can build his confidence for Vancouver and maybe additional games that will come his way.
Well, statistics don't always tell the story, but they do tonight. New York City has outshot Minnesota 16-5. 5 shots on target to 3 for the Loons. Corner kicks 8-2 in favor of New York City. Possession 62-38. So it's been a dominant performance statistically, but when you watch the game, it equals the same, correct?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it doesn't matter about statistics. I think the lead, in a way, was deceptive. I still think it was against the run of play after a pretty big mistake for the most part. Not something that Minnesota had to work for, right? So if you throw the statistics out, it's still one-way traffic, even though we obviously have a little bit of a bias here. I'm trying to look for some positives from Minnesota, but unfortunately I'm not seeing it.
And that first goal Janusz was referring to in the 9th minute, Christian Ramirez alert to get a rebound. A spilled shot by Johansson for his 10th goal of the year. Ramirez scored the first goal in history back on March 3rd in that 5-1 loss to Portland. And he was a star in the NASL, 3 straight best 11s in the North American Soccer League, and he's proving his worth at the MLS level, but no invite for the Gold Cup.
Yep, and what needs to be pointed out is that NYCFC continues to give away dangerous set pieces, right? And although it's easy to say that that's where the danger may come from Minnesota, they've been pretty good in terms of delivery there, so I'd be careful. No reason to concede free kicks 18, 25 yards away, and that's been 2 or 3.
This one bent in. Calvo again, the first one on it. And then the ball headed high in the air by Calvo, and going even higher, the 6'7" Eirik Johansson. Yeah. Who is this guy, Johansson? Well, he made his debut in a U.S. Open Cup match against the Cosmos June 17th, 2015 for New York City. Regular season MLS last October in the regular season finale against Columbus, a 4-1 victory, and then those 2 playoff losses to Toronto. Here's the counter for New York City. Villa with the Cruyff to the wide open Wallace, and he tees it up and takes a little bit too much time. It allows Jermaine Taylor to recover. Wallace was, a little too patient on that, I think, Janusz. He was all alone about 10 yards out to the left of Shuttleworth.
Took an extra touch, and not easy, but I don't think he needed to. It was the numbers up, really, for NYCFC.
And here's a delicate chip from Tommy McNamara to Wallace. Play for the left foot. First time shot wide right by David Villa.
Yeah, David Villa on a full volley slices this one wide towards the right post or away from the right post. Plenty of pace from Wallace. And again, McNamara, you're right. Soft touch. He's been spot on with just about everything. And look,
did you see Herrera also? He was the one closest to the goal off the Wallace service with Villa trailing. So from his holding midfield position, he's at the top of the 6 looking to finish.
And again, I'll repeat this. It depends how you look at the game, because of course you can always pick up players that are important in each formation. And when I look at Tommy McNamara, he's going to be scrappy. He's going to work for it. He's got some quality. But today, he looks like, I want to say Beckenbauer in the back, but I'm trying to think of somebody in the midfield like maybe Xavi and, high praise. You know what I mean by that. I mean, he hasn't put a foot wrong right now. Tons of confidence and very clean.
Cruyff for Molino. Here's Ramirez. And he scores at the back post. However, the flag is up and an offsides to nullify that goal for Minnesota United. And Janusz, let's pause for a moment.
Yeah.
This is where VAR would come into play. So you are the video assistant referee. You're the fifth guy. You're in that little booth. You're watching it. All right?
It's an offside for
me. So you're
me.
confirming
Not really. Why? Because it's a great opportunity. And then not only that, but after all the praise from Tommy McNamara, he gets his pocket picked, and Ramirez got to know better. He's looking across the line for me. He's just enough offside. The assistant referee at the right spot. I don't need to see VAR in this one. I'm gonna not even take a chance, but a clear offside for me. And Christian Ramirez got to know better. I mean, this wasn't even difficult to know, and it was a great opportunity for Minnesota to get back into this game, really, because there was a mistake for McNamara. I think it might have been Ring who overcommitted on the sliding tackle as well, for that to even continue there as well. So as I've said, NYCFC dominating here, but concentration is going to be key here.
They lead 3-1.
Yeah, no reason to bring Minnesota back into this game.
They're up 3-1 in the 75th minute. And Minnesota, who has done so well in the second half of games. And here's Herrera again, getting himself in deep off the feed from Harrison. So Herrera reading the game while Ring sits in and protects on the counterattack. But Minnesota with really what was probably their clearest opportunity since they scored the goal in the 9th minute on that offside called against Ramirez.
And by the way, I'm going straight after the game to the VAR booth next to us to check.
We're trying to glance to our left to see exactly what they may have called
because this
here.
would have been reviewable,
Absolutely.
right? I mean, it led to a goal, of course, and let's not forget it's goals, penalty calls, direct red cards, and mistaken identity, right? Is the fourth one that are reviewable, just to remind. And that's going to be in effect in August 5th, I think.
August 5th, and the first two games that will come into play, they both kick off at a little after 7 o'clock. DC at home to Toronto. Philadelphia, they'll play host to FC Dallas on August the 5th after the All-Star game. That will be day number 1 where the VAR will be available across the Major League Soccer landscape. How about that?
And this is when
it's really history is being made,
and this is people like us are going to be proven wrong many times. So you got to be careful and pay attention. Or maybe right.
Villa has it again inside the D. Slips one for Wallace, who gets another chance, and he fails this time. The shot is not blocked by Jermaine Taylor, who comes in late, but I think he altered it as Rodney Wallace misses on the near post side. And Wallace, for the second time, I don't know, do you think that should have been a first-time shot again?
Well, it's difficult, but he's had 3 opportunities now in the last 5 to 7 minutes like that on the left-hand side where David Villa just spreads the ball, and it's a decision. Do I take a touch or do I shoot first time? I think he had opportunities to take it first time because, every touch you take, that's an extra second for the opponent to slide over and put pressure, and that's exactly what happened there with Jermaine Taylor. But this one, I think, would have been tough on the first time. I think the very first one would have been a better opportunity.
Well, we talked about Villa. He's got 6 assists. All have come here at Yankee Stadium this year. And he's missed out on a couple where he has received the ball, able to turn, drive at the top of the box. Now he's drawing defenders and then recognizing that Wallace is available to his left. And Andrea Pirlo is going to make his first appearance in quite some time. The 37-year-old Italian maestro, and he'll hear it from the crowd as Rodney Wallace makes way. Pirlo, his last appearance was in Game 11 at Real Salt Lake. He started that game, had played the full 90. So it's been 6 matches since Pirlo has emerged, and the only reason he was a go for that match is because Yangel Herrera was away on international duty. Herrera had started the previous 3 matches, starting with that Columbus game that we referred to earlier, when Herrera had a goal and an assist when New York City with a come-from-behind 3-2 victory over the Crew FC.
Well, great appreciation from the supporters for this legend, of course. It made me smile, of course. Such a humble player. I think knew exactly what's happening with the team. His attitude has been superb. I was actually, remember, Glenn, you and I, after the game against Red Bulls, we saw the players that didn't play or play very little doing sprints. He was out there trying his hardest as well. That's not easy for a player that's done just about everything in the game, right?
He's on the ball now. Janusz playing it to Ben Sweat.
Yeah,
as New York City's working out of the back.
Just tactically, of course, Tommy McNamara went over to the left-hand side where Wallace was, and Andrea Pirlo is on the left-hand side of that midfield 3.
And Pirlo now plays it wide to McNamara. Has a lot of room as he drives it towards the edge of the box. Now to the inside to his favored right foot, but the second defender was there. That was Johan Venegas, who tracked back to win the ball from Tommy McNamara as Pirlo played a nice ball wide left. Well, Adrian Heath, the Minnesota coach, remembers well the debut of Andrea Pirlo in a New York City uniform because it was here at Yankee Stadium against Orlando City, and Pirlo was magic in a game, a really high-scoring affair, a game that New York City won by the score of 5-3. But I'll never forget Pirlo's entrance. It sent chills down my spine because for me, Janusz, it was the first time I'd ever seen him play in person.
Superb player.
Well, he's
another set piece, by the way, that it seems it was Chanot on Christian Ramirez.
Well, we're in the 80th minute, and now the ball fell short. And substitution has been made by Minnesota. It's Ismaila Jome in for Miguel Ibarra. So that's the first move made by Adrian Heath. But Heath, the manager of Orlando City, for that Pirlo debut. The second appearance for Pirlo over the last 11 matches for New York City FC. He has given way, the 37-year-old, to the 19-year-old named Yangel Herrera. Villa picks it off, slips a pass intended for McNamara. Good recovery, Minnesota. That really looked promising, but McNamara couldn't catch up to it. And you hear the roar from the crowd. Ball switched, and an inadvertent handball by the right back, Kevin Venegas, will give New York City the free kick. Ben Sweat over the ball, just inside the Minnesota end, halfway line, along the left sideline. New York City moving right to left here in the second half. Glenn Crooks, Janusz Mahalik, as New York City leads 3-1. The 2017 City membership includes access to private team-related events, exclusive on-field experiences, season tickets, and much more. Sign with your club today and get your City membership by calling 855-77-NYCFC or visiting nycfc.com/membership. Entering the 82nd minute, Pirlo with that classic reverse ball finds Sweat. First time to McNamara in the area, who plays square to Villa. And Villa now using his own space as he dribbles away from the box and then knocked on his tush. And that's going to be a foul suffered by Villa and a free kick from a very difficult angle for the goalkeeper, Bobby Shuttleworth.
Pure frustration from Calvo right there. A push in the back of David Villa. David Villa was going away from the goal, so I'm not sure why there needed to be a foul. It wasn't dangerous there in that situation.
Villa just out hustling Calvo initially to get to the ball. Now he'll bend one in to the edge of the 6 front post side, and the ball squeezed between like 4 players, and Sam Cronin, though, was able to chase it down near the edge of the 18 box left side. And now Minnesota has it in the New York City end. Molino tees it up, plays it down the flank to Jome. And recovering is Maxime Chanot. And he's able to get his right boot on it. Although Minnesota will earn the corner. Maxime Chenot. Talk about a player, along with Alexander Collins, who has secured the rear guard for New York City FC. And it certainly has been very evident over these last 3 or 4 matches. New York City comes in unbeaten in their last 4, a 3-game win streak. Tommy McNamara now will leave the game in favor of Frederic Brilliant. We've seen Patrick Vieira with this tactic during the course of the season. With a lead late, he will normally then now, with Brilliant entering, go to 3 center backs, 5 at the back, with both Mikey Lopez and Ben Sweat, the wing backs. Molino bends in the corner kick, and Eirik Johansson comes out strong and punches it away with the right hand alone. And then a foul called on Minnesota United. So Johansson, with every moment, Giannis, he knows he's got at least one more game, in all probability more, in replacement of Sean Johnson, the number 1 who's with the U.S. men's national team. But each minute you can almost sense he's gaining a little bit more of an edge. Eirik Johansson, the Norwegian who I think has 33 appearances for Norway.
The score dictates that a little bit. Pressure's off, right, with his team leading.
Herrera, back heel for Mikey Lopez as they work a combination. Shuttleworth off his line, left-footed, first time, clears the lines. Collins at his own end for New York City. Edge of the circle finds Pirlo. Andrea Pirlo.
But as you mentioned, a tactical switch to 3 in the back with Briand central, Chenot on the right-hand side and Collins on the left-hand side. 2 wing-backs on the left-hand side, Ben Sweat. And Mikey Lopez pushing up, of course. Without the ball, that can easily become 5 in the back.
And right now, New York City shredding the Minnesota back line. Pullback from Herrera, intended for Harrison, knocked away. And a foul called as Minnesota looks to counter on Mikey Lopez, the right back. He's playing in place of, we would figure, R.J. Allen. Matarrita went down early. Allen in the 18. He was originally in the starting lineup, showed up late for a team meeting, so he was relegated to the bench. He has not seen the pitch. Mikey Lopez, certainly not your first choice reserve back when you look at that bench, but he's done an admirable job, Janusz, would you say?
Yeah, absolutely. This is a positive all around, right? Even for somebody like R.J. Allen and Ethan White, because if you don't get the result here, that just compounds everything. Unhappiness, right? There's more talk from the manager. You feel a lot more guilty. I'm not saying they shouldn't, but I think it's a lot, easier to forget, isn't it? I remember these situations, and like you went and you said, well, maybe, just maybe, the manager will kind of, don't spend too much time talking about it.
Molino gets a shot top of the box. Good combination work with Venegas. Molino on the left foot, skies it over the bar. I remember as a young coach, Janusz, my athletic director, the great Pete Hall, I was really undecided about suspending a player, and he said, you absolutely should. And then what you tell the player after the game, if you lose, you tell them it was your fault. If you win, you tell them we didn't need you. A bit harsh, but that could become quite a message. Of course, that was many, many years ago when, certain people maybe weren't as careful with their language.
You also don't want to
presentation.
You also don't want to linger with it, and I suspect that Patrick Vieira is going to be very smart. He knows he's made his point right now. He's going to leave that alone. Maybe one more talk about it. To make sure that this doesn't happen again, and then it's forgotten, right? You move on, because you got to give the players a feeling that, okay, this was the punishment, but it's forgotten. I still trust in you. I still think you're a good player and an important part of the team.
Yeah, because in all likelihood, it's done and over after this match. That's
Absolutely.
New York City 3, Minnesota 1. The New York City goals here this evening at Yankee Stadium: Alexander Collins, Jack Harrison, David Villa. Christian Ramirez opened up the scoring for Minnesota. The first time they had scored initially on the road this season, and in all 9 road games, with the exception of a loss at RSL 1-0, they've given up and permitted at least 2 goals. This is a team that is struggling on the defensive side of the ball. They lead MLS. Got it added up here now. They came in at 38 goals. They lead MLS now with 41 goals conceded. RSL is next at 37.
On the unit of the stats, but it's not the first time that NYCFC concedes first, home or away, right? But the blueprint. They continue to do the same thing, of course, and you always feel that they're never out of the match. That's why I thought even after conceding, I felt comfortable that NYCFC is going to create a number of chances and score some goals.
Pirlo with a back heel intended for Herrera. Herrera playing a lot of this game in the penalty box, especially here in the second half. A long looping service. Jack Harrison deep from the right touchline on the Minnesota side, and it escapes the entire group of players, is recovered on the weak side. Now Minnesota in control. Ibsen, you just think of the Minnesota midfield, and they just haven't been on the ball a lot tonight, Janusz, and credit to the New York City starting midfield of Ring, Herrera, McNamara. Pirlo now in with Ring and Herrera. Pirlo partnering up with the youngster who has essentially taken his spot in the starting 11.
It's difficult for Minnesota. They're always looking at 60, 70 yards once they win the ball to go forward, right? I mean, that's what playing against good front three can do to you. And let's face it, NYCFC have good front three that occupy the entire back four, right? And then if the midfield steps up, it almost feels like there's no way out of there.
Frederic Brillant substituted into this match. Patrick Vieira has used all 3 moves. Lopez for Matarrita in the 9th minute. Pirlo for Wallace 78th, and now Brillant for McNamara 84th to adjust at the back to help preserve this 3-1 lead. If New York City holds on, this is the 9th game that they've trailed. It'll be the 4th time they've come back to win. All right, we're into extra time, and 4 minutes of added time. Armando Villarreal, the referee. Last time he officiated a New York City match in Atlanta where New York City was throttled 3-1. And we've got the same score line here, and it's, a much better performance and result for New York City. Collins finds Sweat wide left. Sweat takes a couple of touches into the Minnesota end, then back to Collins supporting. Ring again in between the center backs.
What a ball.
And he drives that ball as he opens his hips to the right wing. Unable to hold on was Mikey Lopez, who had drifted high and was by himself. Tough ball to handle. It was a rocket. Lopez tried to bring it down with his chest. It's a throw-in for Minnesota. They escape some pressure, and Jome now in the midfield, hassled by Sweat. And Jack Harrison with Sweat defending in the central portion of the field. Harrison recognizes that and drops into the spot previously held by Sweat. So good job by Jack Harrison, who another part of his game that has improved during the course of time is the defensive side.
Absolutely. I mean, he's not afraid to come back and help out, and work ethic second to none on this team. That is for sure. Still, a quiet game from Jack Harrison. I don't know if you can say that if you scored a goal, but for the most part, it has been quieter in terms of his attacking abilities today.
Harrison just 2 shots on goal. 1 connected, a head ball goal. And here's a delivery to David Villa offsides. It's Pirlo who was trying to connect with Villa, the former European stars.
And one of those trademarks, over-the-top balls, just a little bit too much pace on that one, but certainly the vision was there.
One of the pleasures of watching Pirlo in his New York City career, despite the deficiencies, is the measured passes, the accuracy, how softly it falls into the whether it's the chest or the inside of the right foot, the player collecting it, Pirlo can just so pinpoint.
Yeah, and as we've mentioned, I mean, you look at the system, and the system becomes a problem for Pirlo, right? And that's part of it as well. If you look at the 4-3-3, the narrow midfield, the three players that really have to have the range of play, the attacking ability, and I think that's where he paid the price. I think if it's a little bit different system where you can hide him with 2 or 3 players around him. By the way, we may see that at some stage because you may have to change that somehow where you play with one. I don't foresee it, but you never know what the season gives you. I think he still could be very, very effective to a degree. But in this league, you have to run. I mean, you have to grind, and unfortunately, in a 4-3-3, that's often very difficult for a player like Pirlo.
Well, we're in the final minute of stoppage time here, Janusz. New York City 3, Minnesota 1. We've talked about Angel Herrera. How about this? New York City wins, and I'm certain that that's going to be the result. They will be 5-0 in games that Herrera has started.
Pirlo couldn't argue with that.
And Johansson with pressure from Ramirez. Left foot simply places it into touch. And Minnesota with a lot of numbers forward off this throw-in. And Kevin Venegas about 20 yards from the corner flag to the right. Here on the near sideline will throw in, and he finds Jermaine Taylor, and there's the final whistle from Armando Villarreal. And a really dominant second half in particular, and a justified result as New York City defeats Minnesota United by the score of 3-1. Janusz and I will return in a moment with our post-game activities. You're listening to New York City FC Soccer on WFAN.com.
Old Dominion Household Services, self-moving services that deliver. Get an estimate and schedule your easy and affordable home move at odmove.com/WFAN.
It's summertime, 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 and it's time for you to spruce up your home's exterior. Call CertaPro Painters, give it a new coat of paint, and you'll be amazed at what a difference it makes. Not only will you feel better about your biggest investment, but your neighbors will be green with envy. There's only one company to call for this, and that's CertaPro. They have my official seal of approval. That's right. You know they painted in my house, and how happy Terry and I have been with their work. They're neat, they're clean, and just do outstanding work. You going on vacation? Give CertaPro a call today. Come back to a newly painted house. So if your paint is chipping, peeling, fading, or if you just want a new look, give my friends at CertaPro a call, and they'll take great care of you for all your painting needs, interior or exterior. Call CertaPro Painters today, 1-800-GO-CERTA, 1-800-GO-CERTA, or go to CertaPro.com, 1-800-GO-CERTA, or CertaPro.com. At CertaPro, we do painting, you do life.
Each CertaPro painter's business is independently owned and operated. What if you could get urgent care from a world-class doctor at New York's #1 hospital while on vacation in Montauk? What if you could visit with your world-class doctor at New York's #1 hospital without leaving your couch? And what if you could receive a second opinion from a world-class doctor at New York's #1 hospital from across the nation? You can. Welcome to NYP On Demand. From New York Presbyterian, discover a suite of medical services right on your phone, tablet, or computer. Available on the NYP app and nyp.org/on-demand. What if you could get urgent care from a world-class doctor at New York's #1?
Qualifications, rules, and limitations apply. Rewards and restrictions may vary by...
To try to negotiate a way to get the lies down. And actually the irony is, JT, to kind of wrap up here, is about 8 days after they published the story, they surreptitiously, right, that's a big word for without telling anyone, actually went into the middle of the story and actually removed one of the biggest accusations. Didn't even tell, really announce it or anything, but still there was a lot of untruths in there, and ultimately they wouldn't resolve them. We had no choice because the statute of limitations was up, and we had to file a lawsuit. We did in the Supreme Court of the state of New York. I am super optimistic because really when the truth is on your side, and to me, one last thing on this, and I appreciate the time, I know there's people out there that say, wow, you don't want to sue journalists. And to me, pregame is a media organization. We report on Vegas as much as anybody. I so respect the First Amendment, press freedom, but I'm a big believer that if a journalist is not going by of his industry, if he's quite frankly lying, I think it hurts other journalists, because down the road, if someone wants to try to hinder the First Amendment, they're going to say, see that case and that case of the lion. So to me, this is me trying to say most journalists are legitimate. This one wasn't. Deadspin historically has been very shaky, and we're not okay with it. Very last thing, any money that the author has to pay us, we're donating 100% to journalism scholarships at UNLV. So for us, this isn't about the money. It's about the truth.
Nice. R.J. Bell joining us on Fox Sports Radio from pregame.com. And R.J., as our kicker here, as a pregame.com, and you have predicted a pregame.
Individual bets, right, but not the most money bet ever. Most people speculated Mayweather-Pacquiao would keep the crown. Now, the reason that they felt like that the number of bets, that record would be broken, because the theory was a lot of UFC fans would want to throw $20, $30 on McGregor and take a shot on the big underdog.
Right.
Well, if you look at the first weeks since the fight was announced, the pace of not only the bets, but the amount bet is a record-breaking pace relative to Mayweather-Pacquiao.